What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the showcase stream for Smite 2's very first Alpha Weekend playtest coming at you all tomorrow. We are so excited to be here. It's been a long time coming. The team is super excited. And speaking of the team, I got the GOAT squad with me here today. I got the Smite 2 design fam. Ajax is with me by my right, but if we zoom out wide, we got Clumsy, Aggro, Pon all here with me to
also
talk about
known
Smite
as
2.
the
How's
Dream
everybody
Team.
doing today?
Stoked. I can't believe it's finally like Alpha Weekend 1 already.
It's insane.
It's been a long wait and like happened very fast all at once.
Yeah,
I know. It's
The
finally
Dream
real.
Team.
Like, it's crazy. We're in the Smite 2 category on Twitch, which is crazy.
Oh,
for the first
really?
time. I know, right?
That's hype.
I know,
That's exciting.
right? Super hype. Patch notes are live on the site. That's another thing for the first time that we haven't done before. Smite2.com if you want to catch up on the patch notes. Pull them up. Follow along with us here. Not going to go through everything on the
don't
show
go
because patch
through
notes are long.
everything.
AJ, how long were those patch
So
notes?
long.
It was 60 pages.
That's insane.
in my Google Docs. Yeah.
So
it includes
long.
the full item text and full God roster, all kits text. So there's a lot of information in there, but there's also a lot of high-level summary, short-form stuff. So take your time, sort
60
through
pages.
it. Looking forward to seeing the reactions, discussion of it.
It's all written like by Ymir, right?
Yeah,
Like,
by your voice.
First person in your voice, yes.
Smite 2 good.
I know, right? So yeah, patch notes are live on the site. And before we hop into it, I just wanted to stress that we're super excited for Alpha Weekend 1 starting tomorrow, but it's early. This is the first playable version of Smite 2 that's going to be available to a large public audience.
It is early, for sure.
There's going to be a lot of stuff that's work in progress, rough around the
For
edges
sure.
for Alpha, but we're at the point in stage of development where we're ready for you all to hop in, give us your feedback, and our primary goal is for you all to hop in, and we want to build this game together with the community, take all of that community feedback coming in from the Alpha, get back to cooking, making sure that we're incorporating everything that you all feel like you like, what feels a little bit off, taking and incorporating all that feedback just to build the Smite 2 that you want to play, because that's our ultimate goal.
Nothing is set in stone at this point, right? So we're going to test, we're going to play, we're going to learn. We're going to keep implementing new things, changing things. It's going to be a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I know, right? Well, before we get into a lot of the cool stuff, I did want to take some time. Smite 2 is an all-new game.
Right.
I wanted to definitely give you all the floor to talk about some of the goals for Smite 2. We've talked a lot about it before, but before players get a chance to hop into this first alpha, from a high level, I'll pass it to you, Ajax.
High level
What are
standpoint.
some of the
Servers
goals
work,
for
servers
Smite
work,
2?
servers work,
So-
servers work.
Really, Smite 2 is us building upon Smite 1. Yeah. Smite 1 has been successful for 10 years, and we want to be able to do that for another 10 years and more. So in this way, we open up all these new possibilities to ourselves, freeing ourselves from some technological constraints we had on Smite 1. The large reset in changing the God roster and the item roster and item system gives us a lot of opportunity to try new things. So really, our goals are listed out on the patch notes. We want to stick to these. We want you to read through them with us. We want them all to be understood and clear. So we want to keep the core gameplay of Smite 2 similar to Smite 1. It's been successful for us. It's familiar to you. It aligns with the goals of a sequel game. It's what our players love, and we want to preserve that. But we also want to find a lot of ways we can expand on that, try new things for new variety, new mechanics, new designs.
Yeah.
The new game and the new technology create unique opportunities for rebalancing Smite and for introducing new mechanics that Smite 1 couldn't support. So today, you might see some surprising changes.
Oh, I'm excited for them to see some of this stuff.
A lot of it is different because of these goals. We want to try to do a lot of heavy rebalancing and also just trying completely new things. So you're going to see a combination of that throughout today. And a lot of times when you see it, why would they do this change? Why would they do something like that? These are the goals that are supporting the reasoning for those changes. Trying new things, learning new things.
It'll be interesting to see what they actually talk about, because legitimately it's
Absolutely. And
a
talking
60-page
about those high-level goals, I
manifesto.
definitely want to talk about player creativity because it's opened up a lot. And Clumsy, I'll pass to you. What are some of the things that we're incorporating there?
Yeah, one of the main things for gameplay design is we want to expand upon player creativity. We wanted player expression and skill expression to be something that we really push forwards into Smite 2. So whether that's build diversity, whether that's role flexibility, it's about increasing the skill floor without
ceiling
necessarily
is way higher.
alienating, or
Way
increasing
higher
the skill
in
ceiling
Smite
without
2.
necessarily alienating the skill floor, right? We want to make sure that everyone's having fun, but we wanted to use Smite 2 and the 10 years into the future kind of thing is something that we can really be like, okay, well, what can we get away with now in Smite 2? What can we really push the boundaries of? And yeah, and that's one of our main focuses.
I'm stoked. And Aggro, I'm going to pass it to you because Smite 2, It's a MOBA, right?
Yeah.
Where's the competition at, baby? Tell me about Smite 2 and it being competitive.
That's one of the things that I think all of us are really excited about, especially, you know, Clumsy and Pon and I all come from that competitive background and, you know, been in the pro scene in Smite previously. And we think the competitive ceiling for Smite 2 is going to be even higher than it was in Smite 1. And I mean, Smite 1 competitive was obviously so incredible.
Oh, yeah.
We can't wait to see what the competitive teams, once we get started with that, are going to be able to do. And we are definitely keeping the competitive aspect of Smite 2 as a top priority, making sure that, you know, everything
There
we
is
design,
no
we're talking
confirmed
about how does this
SPL
impact
2
high-level
yet,
play,
no.
what are pro players going to be able to do with this, and really allowing them to be even more creative, as Clumsy was just alluding to, and just really keeping that in mind.
They've
with-
said they
with
want
all
to
of our
do
goals.
competition,
Awesome.
but
Well,
they haven't
speaking
confirmed
of
like
being
a
creative,
pro league
one of the
or
biggest
anything.
things
I wouldn't
in Smite
imagine
2
that there
that's
won't be a
different from
league
Smite
probably
1
until the launch.
is the
for
big
free-to-play.
stat change going
there'll
from
probably be
physical
tournaments
power
during
and
the
magical
beta.
power to strength and intelligence. And I believe Pon is already queued up in game, and we definitely want to talk a little bit more about that at a higher level because there's a lot going on to it.
Oh, yeah. So for strength and intelligence, the big thing here is that you might be familiar with it as physical power and magical power, but we wanted to give it a different name to really showcase that this is a whole new system. So characters no longer deal with strictly magical damage or strictly physical damage. They can do a mixed variety of types. And abilities, if they use intellect, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to do magical damage. If they have strength, it doesn't necessarily mean they have to do physical damage. There's a lot of new diversity that can happen with these stats, and characters can choose to be mostly strength focused, or like some characters that we have in the game right now, like Cernos, you can actually go much more hybrid in stacking those two together and actually changing some of the damage types based off what you're building. So this just really opens up a lot of tools for us to create really interesting kits and kit dynamics, and then also give opportunities for players to be like, ooh, I really want to play into this specific playstyle within the character kit, and you can build that stat to actually go for it. So again, kind of tying back to the theme of like
Do
that
other
player
MOBAs do
creativity.
similar things?
There's just a lot of really cool opportunities.
Smite
here.
is like
well, enough of us. Let's go in game.
80%
and look at
closer
some of that,
to League of
strength
Legends
and
now.
intelligence stuff. I believe.
Oh,
you've
boy.
got Cernos pulled up
it's
here.
much
Yep.
closer to League of Legends
We're
than
doing
it
it.
is to
Patch notes show
Smite.
Smite 2
We're
in
doing
game.
it.
Isn't that
In
crazy?
game.
Live.
Hey, they're in
Highlights real
game.
quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, classic.
DJ Pon, let's go.
Obviously, there's a lot of exciting things here to look at, but we want to highlight first and
look at
foremost
that.
is the tooltip descriptions.
Look how
that are
beautiful that
described
tooltip is.
Where
Ah.
these strength and intelligence values are going to come through. So even just looking at Shifter of Seasons, you can see the healing scaling on the spring season is intelligence scaling. So you can actually get bigger heals per hit by building intelligence on Cernos. But you can see, and actually you get a lot of utility effects from Cernos here. You can see the intelligence scaling on the. You can actually increase the physical protection.
You don't like how
reduction,
dull this looks? They
debuff
have their
potency
settings
by
turned to
building
very low.
intelligence on Cernos.
This looks to me like
You
their
can get that
settings are on
traditional strength
very
damage
low.
on Summer, but actually Summer has a unique thing here where you can see it's actually strength or intelligence, whichever's higher.
Right.
That's cool.
So you'll have to really take a look at these things. It's really this system gives every god so much more depth, so much more opportunity to play different roles, different styles, different builds. Essentially, almost anyone can be built as an ADC or potentially melee.
I've heard the
basic
rumors
attack
of
carry.
Zeus ADC. What
Oh,
you
yeah.
think?
Good.
Strength Zeus, baby. That's I'm right there.
Some gods have really interactive kits with this, some a little less so. Some have completely different role changes potentially because of this. There's just so many exciting opportunities within this system.
I was distracted by looking at those awesome looking tooltips. It looked
know,
like it was
right?
Yeah,
a lot of
lots of
work.
details. We have
We'll
simplified,
talk.
advanced.
I skipped ahead of it, but look at them.
We're
They're,
going to
they're
talk
gorgeous.
about this more, but in most cases, we
Tooltips
just want to
are
talk about this
way
and like set
better.
the stage for a lot of the stuff we're going to look at today.
Yeah.
In that these new systems like
Cernos has been
keep
getting
the
hammered in
moment-to-moment
Smite
combat,
2 by Anne.
what we want from Smite
Just
1, what people are used to, a lot of
decimated.
core MOBA features, which we're going to get into right now. So we're
But
going
he
to
looks
the
cool.
Conquest section
Cern's
of
got a
the-
cool
I was
skin,
gonna say,
though.
Speaking
The
of
baller
changes
skin.
on top of
I
that.
was going to say, speaking of setting the stage, we're already here on this gorgeous Conquest map. Let's just stay in game while we pass to you, AJ. Kind of like, what are some of the design goals for Conquest as we kick off and Pong can start walking around?
So similar to our general goals, where you're gonna see this repeated a lot, where some of these specific features also mirror the goals of the entire game. But we want to continue to look for depth in the Conquest map. We want to add more impactful choices, more options.
How does the ground still look bad?
Important to note that
I
this is
promise
like
you,
the
come to my
first
stream tomorrow
playable
night
version of Conquest. So
for the Smite 2 test, and you'll see how it looks for
definite
real.
plans to adjust.
I'll have
and
all the
expand
settings
on the
crank up to
mechanics
max,
in the map.
lumen
There's gonna
on.
be some new ones already, and also a lot of
You'll get to see
different
the
ones
visuals,
from
so.
Smite 1. So early on, this is a like really spicy goal, honestly. But early on, we're really trying to keep the entire role system as creatively open and flexible as possible. So a lot of players in Smite 1 are very used to the design team being very prescriptive with you should build this god as full tank and go here and do exactly this in this order, or you will not do as well. That is not the goal here. We wanted to design more of a canvas for the players to paint the meta on for us, right?
Analogy.
a
So we tried to
gumbo.
Right. There you go. I would say so.
And reference 10 minutes in. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we need at least 5 more by the end of the show, Ragro.
I got you.
So there are no specific starter items that tell you, you have to go here, you have to kill this, you have to do that. We want people to lean into the strength and lead into the god changes and role changes and see what things go. We found that maybe more aggressive strength-based supports are really strong in our playtesting. Sort of double jungle strats are potentially really strong in our playtesting. Doing more ranged utility supports instead of true tanks can be really good. Double ADC.
That little guy right there
I
gives
think
gold to
one
your
of the
entire
fun
team,
part
by
is,
the
like
way.
you were saying, we've opened
It's on the
things
duo
up for
and
players,
solo
and we're
side.
seeing from the friends and
I
family
think it's
testing
35
from
gold to
playtests,
everybody on your
they're
team.
already doing things that we didn't expect. Like we didn't
You gotta
already
capture
some
it.
of these
Takes like 3
whether it's
seconds.
Athena crit jungle, like just I don't think we tried
You
that
gotta
as much
use your
internally. We saw
action
some friends and
key.
family doing this, like, damn, like it's
we were
working,
trying
you know.
Burst magical,
AKA the jump button.
jungle, because like that's when you'd expect to be pretty good. But we saw the physical Athena jungle.
like,
It was really good.
It's like the system's working. Like
And
this
that's
is awesome.
what we want. And so, this is something that, of course, is open to change. We're going to see how things work. If the general feedback wants us to be more specific and more stringent on things, we can. But you have to start this way. It's
Right.
much harder to go the other way.
Exactly.
If you're already saying, like, you have to buy this item, you have to start here, you have to do this, or the item doesn't even work, then you don't get to test.
If you guys complain that there's too many options and too much variety in Smite 2 in your surveys, I'm going to punch you
first cool
in
new
the
feature we
penis.
have on the Conquest map.
Don't you dare.
The new stealth fields.
Don't you
all
dare.
Across the different places in the map.
It is.
I was going to say just in the lanes, but they're not just in the lanes. They're in the jungle. They're in, we took a lot of opportunities to make sure that when adding this feature, we didn't overload the map with this new thing. And so what we're seeing here,
Challenge
we're seeing
accepted.
areas where if you enter into it, you become stealth, right? It's what you'd expect, which you've seen in other games, which you've seen in our own game that we played around with in Smite 1. In different game modes and with Marti Cross and stuff. So it just, for us, it gives us more opportunities to kind of just play in with, lane dynamics, with jungle dynamics. It's something, where you
They
can
do have new
create
auto-buy system,
opportunities,
and the auto-buy
and
system's
moments of,
really cool.
interest during the matches itself.
They've got auto-buy
like I was saying, we
options.
played with a
Super
lot
cool.
of different placements. We played with, a lot more of these, a little less of these, and right now we're just at an iteration where we feel like you're opting into this gameplay, but you're not really being stifled by it.
They're just fun.
Yeah.
They're just fun.
Right? These specifically are just like, you get all sorts of cool ambush moments.
Oh, yeah.
You get a lot more. You get a lot less just like strafing back and forth, staring at each other. Like you have to check things. You have to use abilities or face check things or use wards. Like it just adds a lot of fun.
There's
to
a
the game.
lot
I
of
love the
stealth
level
bushes on
one,
that.
game
A
of hide
lot.
and seek
Oh, yeah.
in
Yep.
lane. It's
Whoever
just
gets
like,
there first.
yeah.
Did I get there first?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't want to check.
who's here? Who's here? Should I ward here or not? You know?
Usually, especially over here, because you see these ones, and there's a mirrored side, and there's stealth push on the left and the right. So you're just watching from like these right side ones, them attacking the left side ones. Like I'm not even over there. I'm over here.
There's a much more specific description of all the rules around these in the patch notes. But in general, they work what you're familiar with from
Like I
this
said,
type of
very
mechanic that
League of
we've done
Legends.
in Smite 1.
They took a lot
we
of
continue
inspiration
our map
from
tour,
League.
and the next
Down to
point
the
is
Gold
talking
Fury
about
Dragon
lane minions, but I know we have them
mechanics,
turned off right now, just due to based off on the map. But Pond, do you want to just walk us through how kind of lane minions work?
Yep, so the lane minions work as you generally expect them to. They spawn at the start of the game. They'll run down the middle lane. They're your main source of experience and farm. But there are slight differences in how they're spaced and how their damage is dealt. A little bit difference in how tanky they are. Just stuff that you'll feel out as you play in the alpha test. The major change is actually going to be the Minotaur minion that spawns now. This thing is like a true siege breaker into pushing a lane. It's a lot stronger. It has... probably, I would say, I don't know the exact health value, but it feels like quadruple, 5 times the health of a regular minion, and it can absolutely crush towers. It has a long-range attack that actually hurts it. So if you get this in your lane and you can kill the other one, you want to push yours into the tower and help push. And that just adds a little bit more dynamic into, oh, they abandoned lane to go rotate here. At this time, I can start pushing. You have an extra tool to help you push. So minions are going to be familiar to you, but
That big minion is also at the back of the wave
wave
instead of the front.
We also have the
so
minion
it stays
execute
alive
feature.
throughout the whole
yes.
thing.
Minions, standard minions, not the Minotaurs, get low health, they will get a flashing red element on them. That means that the next damage dealt to them will immediately kill them.
Yeah.
So you get a little bit more last hit focus and highlighting through
they
that.
added the predecessor last
really
hitting.
good to just,
Interesting.
like,
They must
track
have
your whole
just
way of
put that in the game.
executing minion
like
after
just
minion,
put
getting
it in the game.
It's one of those things like last hitting in Smite 1 has always been there. It's always, you know, it is important to make sure that you're aware of the fact that last hitting does give you bonus gold. But now we've just given you like an added methodology.
Last hitting
of
is
seeing
still
what
not that
like. Now
important
you
in
didn't know,
Smite.
and it's a
It
part of
just
the
makes
gameplay
it
experience
easier
rather
to
than being something
see.
that's a little bit hidden.
Very true.
Cool. All right, Pon, as you were walking around, I noticed these little yellow circles on the sides of the lanes. Aggro, what are these things?
Yeah, these are the gold caches, I believe we're going with, and these are really
Gold blessing.
gold blessings. Yeah, excuse me, gold blessings, and they are a blessing because this gives
subject to change.
gold. Yeah, of course,
30 gold.
to your whole team. So right now, Pon, if he had 5 teammates or 4 teammates, he would have given 30 gold to himself and all of his teammates, and these are present in all 3 lanes, and it really just adds another layer of, I really want to be contesting the lane and not just sitting underneath my tower and soaking farm as it gets underneath.
There were
and
no
I'm not really in any
changes to
danger.
how last hitting
These
works in Smite.
gold leads
There were
get
no changes.
going pretty quickly with these gold blessings, and
It's
they're
literally a
you know, we have
cosmetic
some
change,
Gold blessing
so you
demons,
know when a minion's
caps
gonna
lock in particular.
Oh yeah.
Good luck ever
fight
getting
for
he will die for it.
all to the
VGS
death.
is
I respect
exactly
that.
the
We've
same.
had team fights where everyone dies because of this 30 gold.
Oh,
fighting.
and my favorite one is if you go to in the mid lane, right? Like we were talking about the stealth areas. This is the most perfectly placed one because there's one right here, and you just know that someone's either hiding here or just waiting. I've seen people just like looking for the best opportunities to just gank at this gold.
Now, how exactly did you capture those there, Pon? Let's dig a little bit deeper into this concept because this is a very new mechanic and it's going to have a big impact on the map as a whole. You're going to see us referencing it multiple times here in the future. It's called Interact.
Yep.
So we now
They're
have
gonna
the
show the
concept
fire
in Smite
giant
2
pit,
where
aren't they?
things on the map
Fire giant pit's
have
a cool one.
a special area that allows
The
you to
Warhorn,
interact with them.
Warhorn.
There we go. So you can see you can capture this Warhorn. This is the... We'll get to this mechanic in a second. We're jumping around a little bit, but the gold blessings were the first interactable we wanted to show. So in order to do this, you use your spacebar button or whatever your jump button is currently bound to will transform into an interact. You'll do a little channel and then you'll capture it. These
You
were
never
so we
did
can
learn what
try
Warhorn
some
does?
different methods of
Like little
you know,
Oni
gaining
waves.
an advantage on the map.
Stronger
that
minion
weren't
waves
just
for capturing the
killing
Warhorn.
something.
Or just standing on something.
Or just standing on something, right? So you walk in, you have to manually engage with it, and then you can cancel it, you can interrupt, but you can also be interrupted.
Right.
It creates a much faster combat loop than just having to kill a whole minion wave, or that also, it has a different risk-reward dynamic than having to stand and kill a whole jungle camp where the opponent can just stand there and watch you. You're taking damage, you're taking all the risk, and then they can try to just pick it off.
Right.
In this case, they have to actually poke you off and then take that ground, and then you have the chance to counterattack. It gives a really different combat dynamic, and you're going to see us exercising this in a bunch of places across the map. Before we get too many into those, we should jump back to towers, though.
Yeah. Let's talk
Pon,
about towers.
you want to go show us and talk about tower bounties?
Towers
Yeah, of course.
give you
So
a
you can
lot
see here
of gold.
in mid lane, and let me turn off Tower Killer so I don't just absolutely destroy it. It has these extra 3 pips.
Yeah.
And so these are actually health thresholds that when you get to, they'll drop these gold bounties. So let's see if I can do this without dying. We'll God.
I was gonna say I don't like your odds.
Yeah, no.
Your build is not going to do much.
No, we have no items right now, so
All right, chat.
no
Get the timer.
backdoor protection.
How long is it going to take?
We got it. We'll get there.
We'll
We'll
only
get
be
there.
demonstrating the first tower.
Yeah, so this will be the first tower bounty, and you can see when I get to this health threshold, what it does is you have these orbs fly out, and you can pick them up, and you can even see we have these helpful tooltips that explain what it is.
gold
But when you pick them up,
each.
they just give you a huge burst of gold. So this is extra incentive for you to actually break through and push towers early into the game.
Yeah.
Using that advantage, it's a different way of getting a lead when you have advantage to push
a
outside
big
of just
way to
rotating.
get a lead,
Again,
yeah.
just giving you more
Big
flexibility in what you
snowball.
want to be choosing to focus on the map.
And there's a special condition with that third one.
Yeah, that one's
which
exciting.
is worth a lot more gold, and that one is only benefited to the team that gets to it first in the lane.
Yep.
So if you break your diamond bounty, then
It's
your
turret
opponent's
plates from League
tier
of
1
Legends. I
diamond
told
bounty
you,
is turned off.
Smite is
lane.
literally
Yeah, but winning that lane.
80% closer
Only
to
in
League
that
of
lane.
Legends.
Yeah, gotta
They
win that
genuinely
lane.
played
Also,
League of
those gold
Legends for
pickups
6
are
months.
localized for the area, so it's not
And then they were like,
team-wide
wait a
gold, but if you have
second,
an ally nearby,
all of
it'll
these
share
ideas are
everywhere.
better
Huge
than
win
our
for
ideas,
WKers
and now they're
everywhere.
putting them
Yeah.
into Smite.
And it matters
Yes.
a lot. Like getting an early tower in Smite 2,
Yeah.
you notice the gold infusion for you personally if you got those tower bounties, which is
Yeah.
felt really good.
It's a big spike. Okay, where were we before jumping back to?
We're talking about interact. We talked about gold caches.
We're at
I
jungle
think it's
buffs.
time to talk about the jungle.
Oh,
yeah.
this is exciting.
Okay, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Only took
This
them
is
10
a
years.
big
I know.
new system that affects the whole map.
No complaints
in a
though.
deep
We're
way.
here now.
Yes. So this is what we're
here
calling
now.
the Infamy system. Every jungle camp on the map has a level. The level is gained by leveled up by gaining Infamy. You gain Infamy by killing that camp. You get it? You kill the monsters. They don't like you so much, so they power up their defenses to try to fight you harder the next time. As you level up, the monsters
laning phase is way more important.
Better rewards
because of the tower stuff. Yes,
Infamy
way
level
more
1,
important.
Jungle buffs do not drop, so there are no level 1 jungle buffs in Smite 2 at this time. But as you level up to level 2, 3, 4, you start getting a jungle buff at level 2, and then you start getting more.
You can only pick up one
versions
buff
of each buff as you go. Each Infamy is tracked individually, so you have to kill a bunch of harpies to get more harpy Infamy.
Yep.
And this is really interesting because this lets you prioritize specific things on the map, like if you want to invade. Invading your opponent's team red actually slows down their Infamy gain on their red buff and speeds up yours.
Yep.
Right.
Getting you to get a stronger red buff earlier in the game. There's also a couple spawn points in the game, the ones along the middle line. Those can be different jungle buffs at different times and different, so they're randomized which color jungle buff they'll be. So depending on what spawns there, you might want to prioritize one that you care about the most of getting to the next level of Infamy. So there's no Invader's Curse on this map as well.
Yeah,
so there's really just a lot of ways you can play this, a lot of different strategies you can formulate, both pre-existing and on the fly.
Yep.
To power up your jungle
Junglers
as
right
you
now
go.
are tending to get a lot of
Anything I
XP
missed,
in
team?
the jungle and not
No,
a lot
I
of
mean,
gold.
I think that a big
Solo
thing, just thinking
lane,
about
like the
competitive
laners are
aspects,
getting
like I
a
was talking
ton
about
of gold. If
earlier,
you're
I
winning
think
your
that
lane,
this
you get
opens up
so much
jungle
gold.
pathing and
Because you get the win the
unique
little
ways
gold
to play the
bonus,
jungle
and then you
based
get
on
the
how
little
your
gold
jungler
from
likes
the
to play,
tower,
based
and
on how
then
your team likes to play.
you
People
get
find
so much
likes
more
to
gold
play
in lane than
routes.
you do in
Yep.
the jungle.
But
The
there's been
jungle
less
gets
of that
so
so far,
much
right?
XP.
Yes, definitely. I'm really trying to ward early so that I can see if Pawn is starting.
jungle
on the
is almost
side,
always
I'm doing
behind
way
in
more
items.
vertical jungling than I ever did.
But
in Smite
usually
1,
ahead
just
in
really
levels.
Trying to, and then if I get a good clean invade off on the enemy red, I'm going to prioritize red the rest of the game because now I'm ahead in Infamy
Right.
there,
yeah.
and I might let my yellow kind of
Pressure
go by
the
the
lead.
wayside. Yeah, but I really want to build that and get because the level 3 versions of these buffs
yeah.
are really, really strong.
Ooh, the last thing we forgot is jungle buffs now need to be picked up with interact.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
So this is a feature that takes a little bit of getting used to because you're just used to running over them, but it helps a lot for
It took
crowded
me
combat scenarios where
approximately
people don't
one buff
accidentally
to get
pick up
used
buffs.
to, and I
It
realized
lets
how
you
much better it was to pick up a
lets you
buff on
manually
purpose.
choose or overwrite the buff you currently have if,
So much better.
if you still have duration on your
So
previous
much
buff.
better.
We've also just made the jungle buff pickups generally a lot more forgiving. They last a lot longer, so you don't run out of time picking them up. You can do a lot of stuff with these new jungle buffs, so definitely check those out.
Yep.
Yeah, one last clarification on these ones as well, because I've seen some people confused in playtest. The Infamy system is not necessarily linked to the strength and rewards based on that camp. So, for example, the jungle camps are still going to gain XP, gold, and damage over time, and Infamy levels are just based on that reputation system and what rewards they'll give you via the buffs.
The buffs. Okay, sorry. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, the way I introduced that could have been interpreted either way.
Right,
The
sure.
main benefits of leveling up Infamy is the buff and introduction of the buff and buff powers.
Yeah. Yes.
And the harpies also, they don't drop a buff, but they drop a shield pickup.
They do drop a
It gives you a health shield with unlimited duration.
Stacking health.
Very strong.
Yep, and
Stacking
then all
health.
that info on
Very
all the
good.
buffs and the Harpy Trinket Shield is in patch notes. So if you want all the details,
You cannot
on
drag camps.
each level of the buff. per
Camps are
Infamy
locked
system, it's right there on patch notes for you
Locked.
to read.
You'll get used to picking up those buffs real quick.
I have jumped over every single Smite 1 buff I've picked up for the last.
Sure, I didn't think about
I have
that. That's
jumped
so
over
funny.
Every single one.
Oh man. Well, let's talk about the Warhorn up next. It's the solo lane objective. But Pon, do you want to give us a sneak peek?
yeah.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, we
peek at something else.
yeah,
We
we'll
can-
just use the
Teleport.
Yeah, here
Teleport.
we go.
The teleporter
Yeah,
mechanic
I
makes
have
way more
cheats
sense
built
in
into
Smite
the
2.
map.
There we go.
Because it teleports you to the
If
side
everyone can
lane.
cheat, it's fair.
It's
Yeah,
way
so the
less
Warhorns,
annoying.
these are kind of like the
Way
total
less
replacement.
annoying.
It's only going to be featured in the soul lane, and it's something that we were looking at earlier, where you're going to use that interact mechanism, and it's kind of like a capture the flag scenario where you want to get your progress on the Warhorn all the way to full before the enemy kind of takes over and does it to theirs instead. So only one team can capture the Warhorn at a time before each respawn to the Warhorn, and it'll be empowering the next wave of all the minions on your team.
Map is a
so they're
thick
going to be
boy.
getting stronger, and it also does an immediate benefit of gold for your entire team too.
Yep.
It is noticeable if your solo laner is giving up a lot of Warhorns and you're fighting a lot of Warhorn fused waves.
Oh yeah, it gets like,
tough. Hey, can we maybe get a Warhorn or two over here?
I know, right?
That might help.
They take a lot more time to clear, and you take a lot more chip damage away when trying to clear them. Or if you're not around with them, you could lose. Lose waves.
This is also another objective that it might actually sometimes not be worth the fact that we've been fighting over it for 3 minutes and have brought multiple people over just to contest this Warhorn. But man, you really
the
want
UI
to be the
is
one
way
that
better.
captures it. It's
Clean
a moral
UI.
victory.
I've had some
Smite
funny times of just
Clean.
me and someone else with Soul Lane are just staring off at each other, and one person's trying to get it, and then the other person just uses a Bologa ulti to stun them, and in that time they don't even attack, they just go for the war and capture.
Oh, and getting that quick interact, stepping into the right space, hitting the key, getting it going, and stepping back out. A lot of times people
I've been
think, I'll
gravitating
definitely be able to
to.
interrupt
I just
them, but
like
then they
Anher,
get
man.
because you weren't quick enough.
I've been playing a lot of ADC
there's a
because
lot of
Anhurst
combat
is so
dynamics.
fun.
Playing around the strategy of the
His
Warhorn
ultimate
early
is
to
the
mid game
funnest
obviously
ability
important.
in
You want to
Smite
help
of
with
all
your
time.
team across the board. Also mid to late game
In my
when
opinion.
your minions being empowered in one lane versus the other.
His
so, for
ultimate
example,
is
you get the
just
Warhorn,
dummy
and then
fun.
you push on one side of the map, right? And you know the other sides of the map
So glad
are
you
always going
mentioned
to be
that.
able
We get a lot of Fire Giant queues where instead of we're not quite ready for Fire Giant and the fight kind of spreads out and you fight over the Warhorn instead because it's really impactful late game. You want that minion push. You want that free push, especially while you're fighting over objectives. It scales so well throughout the game, and I always am happy to go pick it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. And one thing that I noticed
Also, it
that
looks
I wanted to call out is the way you capture it is you interact with it, but you don't have to stand on the point whenever it's going. So you can interact with it, start the capture, walk away, clear wave, rotate.
But if your enemy comes in and interacts with it, and they will stop your progress and start back theirs.
Yeah, and it does remember progress too. So if you had it almost finished and someone comes and snipes it, and you take it back quickly, it's not like you've lost all that progress. So you're constantly making progress towards finishing it.
Purely additive.
Cool. Well, we're on the solo lane side of the map. Our next point is the teleporters, and we're going to talk about the Gold Fury here too. So let's talk about the teleporters and get on the right side of the map before we talk about Gold Fury.
Yeah, teleporters or Pond, did you want to take porters?
Yeah, so for the teleporters, as a jungler main, the fact that you don't know exactly where I'm starting and the fact that I can gank and teleport to go farm the other side of the map or surprise gank the other side of the map as well, just the amount of options and flexibility as a jungler alone has been super huge for these teleporters. But if you lose sight of your lane opponents, if they push and they leave, you don't know if they went necessarily to go potentially invade, you don't know if they went to Gold Fury, you don't know if they're about to go gank solo lane. And this positioning makes it so that
all
it's
of the
accessible
channels are
just
interrupted
enough
with damage.
That it
all
is
of the
good to do,
action
and you
key
can make some
buttons
really
are
high plays
interrupted
off of
with
it,
damage.
but it's not so
Gold,
accessible that
Warhorn,
it's a constant
teleport,
feature
etc.
where you really have no idea where anyone is. You can make really good educated guesses, and that's something that's really cool about this.
Obviously we've got teleporters of some mechanic now in Smite 1 and a lot of people who have talked about why aren't they exactly the same as Smite 1, Smite 2? It's because these types of teleporters, the gameplay that we wanted is very different, right? We didn't want to we're not looking to copy and paste, even though there's the Smite 1 serve a different function. It's their fun for their map, but for this map, we wanted to make sure you can make those sly and coy plays. You don't have to reveal people. A little bit more mystery, a little bit more intrigue.
And you can see we also have a cooldown here, so you can't just teleport back and forth.
Yep.
So there is a little bit of a timer. It's not, you can eventually come over here, fight, and then afterwards the timer will probably have fallen off and you can go back. But you can't just use this to constantly ping pong back and forth to confuse your opponent and make it really hard for you to get killed.
And for all of these interactables on the map so far, you get interrupted via damage. So it's not like CC, like teleport and Smite 1 or anything like that. If you get hit while you're doing your channel of the interact, you will immediately stop.
Right. Good point.
I cannot wait to take my duo lane and gank Nika at level 2 and level 2. It's gonna be awesome. For me, not for him. For me.
Enjoy that upper hand you have on the pros. For
I know, right?
Yeah. Very short amount of time. Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. Well, Pana's already walking over there. Let's talk about the Gold Fury.
Yeah. So Gold Fury is a bigger deal than it has ever been in Smite 1.
It's
now,
the most important
you see
objective in the game
underneath the kills on the top of your HUD there, you've got 3 empty dots. Those are your Gold Fury count. So if you get a Gold Fury, you'll get one of those, and each time you'll get golden experience as you're used to, but then also you'll get a unique buff that is permanent based on how many Gold Furies you've gotten. And
AKA
you keep all
Dragon.
of them as you go. So the first time you kill a Gold Fury, you and your whole team will permanently have a speed boost out of Fountain that is doubled for the rest of the game because you've gotten a Gold Fury. If you kill a second Gold Fury as a team, you also will have nearby friendly minions take reduced damage and deal more damage. And if you get that third one, then you deal bonus true damage to structures. And so this is a way of us kind of advancing the game throughout the match in a natural kind of scaling way where you don't have to necessarily fight around Fire Giant. Getting that 3rd Gold Fury, now that structure bonus that kind of used to be on Fire Giant is now on getting your 3rd gold. So you want to group up, play around that. We have really changed our late game macro calls a lot from Smite 1, really needing to, oh, hey, this is going to be their 3rd gold. I don't know if we really want to give that up, or what's right after the 3rd gold.
Yeah, I was just last
more important. You think that's OP?
Fury, which I'll get to in a moment.
Wait until you hear about the 4th Fury.
A lot of really cool calls of, oh, they only have 1 gold.
4th Fury is straight up more important than Fire Giant. It's not even close.
Or,
it's just more important.
We got some early gold Furies because we got an early lead.
How about that?
The team's starting to scale. They might outscale us. They might out-team fight us. They want to go for Fire Giant, but we feel good because we got 2 gold Furies already and can play to our 3rd.
Yeah,
yeah, here it is. So the Ancient Fury. So once a team has killed 3 gold Furies, once one team has that final buff, then the Ancient Fury spawns, and it is much spookier than your typical gold Fury. They wanted something spooky, and we gave it to them. There's no doubt about that. When you kill the Ancient Fury, this will disable enemy towers for 100 and Phoenixes for 180 seconds. So this is the strongest way to end the game.
This is a true alpha.
Yeah, it's true alpha moment.
You said the thing.
Right here.
This is also not exactly the same build version that's going to be in the test this weekend. So
I also think
you might see some minor differences.
I also think we updated it to 120 seconds based on feedback as well. So that tooltip might be incorrect.
Yeah, so you might see very subtle differences what you'll be playing this weekend. Just keep that in mind.
Yes. But this Ancient Fury is now the premier game ender if you want to try and get together and siege as a team. But it doesn't give you combat strength like something like a Fire Giant buff does. So it really adds a whole nother level of macro decision making on the map, which is something that I think Smite players have been asking for a really long time. And it's been playing out really well, in my opinion. I think
crazy
stacking gold Furies versus going for Fire
Giant
has been a really awesome decision.
I like it.
And like you said as well,
I
one
actually
team
like
could
it.
end up getting the 3 gold Fury kills, but then the other team who might be behind, they may decide to not fight over Fire Giant, but take the Ancient Fury instead. And that might be their first gold Fury kill, but they get an extremely powerful objective over it.
Yeah, if you feel like you're stalling because Fire Giant, it's really hard to make ground potentially here, there's a whole other aspect of the game that you can go farm to make progress towards the end game.
If somebody goes for 2 minutes, you go for Fire Giant. Now they've got a siege into a Fire Giant.
Let's look at our Fire Giant then.
You have no tower, but maybe you've got fire.
Back to pit a little bit.
You know?
Huh?
We've got a new arena here. We've got there's a new feature hidden in the back of the arena there. There's an interactable.
Another interactable.
Yeah, another interactable that you can.
This one, I enjoy using this one a lot.
Yeah, this one opens, actually allows you to temporarily change the Fire Giant.
Oh, that's sick.
A new path, but it does a little bit of damage to you.
It does. It costs you 10% of your maximum health.
Yeah, we wanted to experiment with that a little bit. But yeah, the Fire Giant himself.
There are no in-game
comms. He's gotten a lot of polish, like a lot of.
They didn't even have typing.
He's got some new abilities. So he has the Magma Slam.
You're gonna get owned here.
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely gonna get destroyed. I need to walk out of here. Hold on, we're God real quick.
There we go.
You saw the Magma Slam there. That was that big warm-up circle in front of him that'll knock you away. And that will also spread out these 3 additional boulders, which will do more bonus damage. He also has the Ragnarok's Fury, similar one that you know from Smite 1. This one's very necessary to make sure everyone who's fighting Fury takes damage. So yeah, this will float over people who take damage, and it does more damage if it's just you. And then we have the Fire Blast, which is this really large warm-up cone area, and then it has a really long, persistent, like, burning area that you don't.
Fire Giant is
way
way
so this causes
tougher.
the whole very raid mechanic-y, right?
Way
Get
tougher.
everybody
So hectic.
rotate.
Yeah.
And
Way
also,
tougher.
that field persists after the Fire Giant dies. So, like, the
It
most.
lasts its full duration, right?
Yeah. So there's been a lot of times where, like, you're doing a Fire Giant fight, you even take it, but then the cone is cutting off the players like who want its like escape path.
Right.
So now they're actually in a
your
really bad
aggro
spot.
direction matters a lot in this version of Smite, which is a really strong skill that high level supports and who take the Gold Fury master. It matters even more now.
Yep.
And also there's some interesting spicy changes to the buff. First of all, you might notice it looks different.
Those effects are so sick.
He's on fire.
So we wanted the He's on Fire feel. We wanted this really cool visual for Fire Giant that just made you feel powerful, fit the thematic goals like we have almost in the old Smite 1 cinematic.
I love it so much.
And
hell
it
back.
stacks better than 2 belts and just a bunch of buff belts on people, Like, it's still very clear. You can tell when a team is on fire. You can tell when a player is on fire. And it also has some unique mechanics, too. So now, every time the Fire Giant dies, the strength, intelligence, protections you get from it get stronger.
Yes.
Yep.
So you get strength, intelligence, and healing and mana regeneration the first kill. But then every kill after that, it gets protections and increasing protections, and it increases the strength. It does not increase the healing.
Two-shotting everything.
I believe, because that would just be probably too OP. But like I said, anything is open to change.
Hey, if it does, let us know.
AJ said that like we're sure about that. Like, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, we're still making a lot of changes to the game as we go, right?
Oh yeah.
Every day.
These types of things open to discussion. But
you can
those
do
are
the thing?
I believe the exciting pieces on the Fire Giant.
No,
I haven't
that's the
realized how
most exciting thing about this.
Oh no, you're gonna show this part. Okay.
I actually don't know what happens here.
What's the cooldown? You don't know?
No, I've never
What's the
seen it.
cooldown on it, Paul?
I actually don't know.
Oh, you might have to stand here for a while.
I just stay here for a while. But
about
I'm
XP
just saying,
rules as
if this door closes on you, it might not be good for you. So maybe just pay attention to when it's closing.
I believe it just kills you.
That is so awesome. I love it.
It just executes you.
That's incredible.
You're right.
So watch out for the doors closing on you.
You're
I
right.
hope someone pushes someone in.
I've died twice to that in playtest.
There's a lot of stuff on this map. We didn't get into all the detail. We wanted to call it real quick. There are XP rules. Splitting works the same as in Smite 1, and there is a lowest level XP split. So you have to split with a teammate, but if you're the lowest level, you'll get 45% bonus. Just want to shout out to the environment art and the level design team. There's a lot going on, behind the
Super
scenes here to
shout outs.
just
Yeah.
make everything look amazing, make things look performant, completely new lighting systems, completely new texture systems in Unreal. We're talking a lot about gameplay today, but there's deep dives to talk about a lot more of this other stuff.
We had one with Christian last week that came out.
Oh, hell yeah.
lighting, yeah.
Dude, I love the way the water goes like down from the top and then enters into those like designated spots there, and there's a little bit of spill out. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
there's
Ooh, the crab. That's where you went this time.
where is
Wait,
he?
what?
Oh, there he is.
No
There he
way.
He's hiding on top of the
I actually had no idea.
That's where I'd be if I were him.
He's bounced around a little bit.
That's-
There's a lot of
where he is
some
today.
Easter eggs. Allied and Finch are also on this map.
course.
People, this is the #1 question I probably get when talking about Conquest. Infamy system, jungle mechanics, all this stuff. No, they want to know, and they are there. Of course, it was
Yes.
very important to
Always.
us as a
Yep.
team
Yep.
to make sure that's
There's
there
Allied.
too.
Yep.
Any final shout outs to the map? There's some new visual effects to highlight backdoor protections or immunity of structures or
Yep,
Titan.
the shield.
There's,
Pon, can you just speed and show off chaos a little bit?
Oh yeah.
that go into the danger zone.
Yeah, crazy
We're in the
Cernos
danger
buffs to
zone.
make him this
So
fast.
here's
for
what
sure,
the
yeah.
Chaos team will see. So you got a fiery portal in the background over there.
Nice.
With some really cool shadowing. You got the just like completely different base aesthetic. It's open on the top. You got the Titan back there.
Those huge axes.
Yeah, I like those like bone tusks and stuff in the back.
Yeah.
Those-
There's just so much cool art on that. I guarantee you there's going to be some people who hop into a match and the first thing they're going to do is miss a wave because they're looking all
Oh yeah, this is so good.
Everybody's gonna
Well, yeah,
miss a
that's
wave
Conquest,
because they're
everyone.
trying to
Super
look at all
excited
the
for
new
everyone to
items
hop
when they
in,
load
but-
in for the first
This is
time.
the only game mode in Smite at the time.
And then they
Yeah,
get
these
wrecked
are
because they didn't
practice
realize
now
how
for alpha
OP
feature.
HP potions
And there
are
will just be
now.
the one normal Conquest queue, and
They
there will be
didn't buy enough
customs
HP
as well. Yep.
Customs and normal Conquest queue. Ranked is planned for later, probably around the beginning of beta.
Ooh, okay. We slam those queues?
Oh yeah, we're slamming them,
MMR
all right.
will be in effect, so you win your matches, you'll start playing against other people who win their matches. If you're 5-person pub stomping, it won't be long before you're running into the other team that's 5-person pub stomping, and you're gonna see how competitive this game gets real quick.
There we go.
Yep.
Can't wait.
Excited. Well, let's start talking about
Thanks for the
gods
tip,
here.
no problem.
We can stay in game as Pon gets get ready. Gets ready, but
Yeah. I
wonder if they'll
AJ,
show
I'll
off
pass to you.
Akate.
Talk to me about gods in Smite 2 because there are a lot of differences.
Yes, so the high-level goals in Smite 2, again, kind of before we talked about flexibility, right? So we want flexible systems, but we want unique kits.
Yeah.
So we've readjusted a lot of the strength and int, the base stat system are adjusted to make sure that each god's unique abilities is really their special feature and what shines the most. Each god should bring something new to a team, either it be one big feature or a combination or a unique combination of smaller ones. So what we've done is made base stats and items and other systems support this. Some of the ways that we've done that is the strength and int system we've already talked about, so you can build different builds, all builds, and many characters can benefit from both builds in some way. You could even go max strength, ADC, Anubis, even though he doesn't really have much.
I did it once.
Don't do that.
I've tried it. I've tried it before.
It was okay.
Yeah, lifesteal,
Don't do that.
lifesteal,
Oh, yeah.
ADC Anubis, not bad.
True.
And another big
Don't
thing to
do
mention
it.
is the base stats. We've done a very big rebalance of base stats to make all of the gods' base stats actually a lot more similar to each other.
Right.
So being a tank does not have such a massive default advantage as being a tank did in Smite 1. So if you want to play a support, ranged intelligence support, you can do that better than ever now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what matters about that kit is that what your kit has, what does it bring to the table? If there's a big AoE CC on that traditional DPS kit, it might make a really meta support as well.
Yep.
So we wanted to make sure our god designs always allowed for that opportunity. The other big change was we always make sure that something new to explore for each Smite 2 kit. Some of these have more than others. A lot of these gods are ones that I think generally everybody loves, everybody likes, have felt really balanced, a lot of our first gods. But, as we get into the future, there might be gods that need bigger reworks. There might be gods that get bigger changes. You'll even see today a couple gods getting complete ability reworks.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Some other gods just getting new stuff added. But we wanted something new to explore
Indeed.
for everyone. Things like ADC Zeus or Crit Ymir from just the system alone are amazing, but then there's also a lot of individual ability changes too. And we're going to highlight all of that in just a moment.
Yeah, that's right. So as we get ready to go in game here, AJ, you hinted at it earlier, but God Text.
This is a feature I've wanted personally for a really long time, and I know the ambassadors, Olympians who have worked with us over the years have also wanted a really long time. So we have a completely new description system that allows for short and long modes. So the general intent for the Alpha 1 is the short description is as short as possible. It's a very straightforward, functional, no flavor, no nonsense, tells you what the ability does, and it only gives you the relevant gameplay variables too, specifically the scaling amount. That was a number thing that people always were curious about, is what stat should I be buying to make this stronger? So that's all that shows up in the short. But then you can right-click. So you have to press Alt
That's
now.
right. Can we go in game and check it out? Yeah.
So for PC, you need to press Alt to hover over your abilities to read this, as opposed to the K screen. If you press K, there's a little reminder text, I think, or we're adding that to help you remember what to do. And for consoles, you can D-pad up to navigate over these as well. You can read each ability, or you can hover over your god's face to read your passive. And every ability has that button to expand or collapse to give you more details.
Expand.
When you expand, you get a whole bunch of very
expand
specific,
is where it's
functional,
at.
long description bullet points to help clarify additional things, tell you
Collapsed?
projectile pass-through
No,
rules, tell you
no.
immunity rules,
Expanded?
things that were always hidden from
yeah.
players in Smite 1. As you can tell, I'm just so
so stoked.
sorry not to curse on
So much better.
over here.
I love the color coding here.
Yeah.
And we have color coding to show. We have color coding for soft CC, hard CC, damage, buffs, debuffs to show you like what's damage, what's buff, what's debuff. We have unique CC icons to help you see all that. We have range, radiuses, cooldowns. We have multiple ranges and radius for things that have multiple things.
Yeah.
Like we tried to, for the long description, be like everything you might want to know is in the long description. But for the short descriptions, people can just get a really quick look, and it'll default to short, and you can toggle between them. So
You
it's
can
been great.
read
Like,
trigger
literally just
and her
yesterday,
pillar
it's
now,
like,
yes.
like I need to know this small detail. It's like, oh, I'm in game right now. Let me just check out the long description instead of all tabbing and going into like my spreadsheets.
yeah, we've been using that a lot. They are pretty definitive as much as we can. And please, feedback on them. If you feel like something's missing, let us know. We're already thinking about ways to improve this system, keep adding to it, maybe adjusting the color coding. So we've already got a lot of ideas, but we still love to hear yours. So let's see. Okay, what are you going to read next?
Yeah, we're going to go into, before we hop into Anhur, he's of course at the top of the list, but definitely want to list out all the gods available in Alpha Weekend 1. There are 14 of them. So of course, Anhur, as you see on screen.
You got it.
Anubis, Athena, Bakus, Bologa, Cernos, Chak, Fenrir, Kukulkan, Loki, Neith, Odin, Ymir, and Zeus. Going to be our first
Sounds right.
14 playable characters in Smite 1 Alpha. But
Oh, they took
I did
Akante
wanna
out.
address the elephant
Someone
in the
might
room.
be missing,
or the sorceress in the room.
Interesting.
Hecate. Hecate is not going to be an Alpha Weekend 1.
Wonder why they took
AJ,
her out.
did you want to kind of go over a little bit of the thought process and the decision there?
Yeah, we're taking some more time to cook,
There we go.
as the kids say.
Let us cook, baby.
We really we've been doing testing.
surprised they took her out.
We wanted to take that seriously.
Yeah.
We wanted to show people that we're serious about that, but also she did just need the time. We have had internal play testing and just the reactions to the deep dive and social comments. We saw all of it.
All of it. All of it.
Read
See
it all personally and internalized it and felt it. We really just wanted to make sure we make a really cool character.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of cool things we still wanted to do that we were running out of time. I don't want to make excuses or make complaints. We just have lots of cool stuff coming to the game. We're going to take some more time on this one to make
Honestly,
sure it's awesome.
her kit was pretty
We are
cool,
building this
so-
entire game from scratch, remaking
Maybe they'll just try to
everything.
make it feel
So
a
making
little
a brand
better
new god on
without
top of that was a very different experience than
changing
making a
too
new
much,
god in
'cause it was
Smite 1.
pretty fun.
So we are learning a lot as a team, and the community is already helping us with that. So Hecate's going to be absent for a little while, but she will return hopefully cooler than ever.
That's right. Yep. Just keep an eye out on social media. We'll have more news and info when we're ready to talk about Hecate in a little bit more detail. But until then, just let us cook.
That's all there is to it.
That's right. All right, let's talk about gods. Let's go back in game and let's check out On here. And we're going to kind of keep it casual here. We're not going to go over every single ability in depth, but we're just going to go through the kit. And we did want to take some time to talk about some of the unique to Smite 2 aspects of all the gods. So of course here, On her looking sick here. That ultimate is insane.
So, you know, like you mentioned, we don't need to talk about the fact that he looks better than ever, he sounds better than ever, and all those beautiful things that we see from all the gods. Yep, exactly. On her's main changes is a lot of it is on the shifting sands, where one, the closer you are to the shifting sands, actually the heavier that actually effect is. Two, you can cancel it early, kind of like, you know, we did for Ymir's wall. And
three things, unfortunately. So
it does end the start the cooldown early as well.
It does.
So ending it early is actively high skill ceiling min-maxing this character now.
It's good to know.
And it is strong to do.
And then you can also place the shifting sands behind you a little bit, so that like it kind of snaps behind you, so that way, there you go.
You
so
can see that the snapback is not in the right spot.
It's very good.
It's super.
That's a bug.
The other thing, as we mentioned before, the ultimate has a different pacing to it, and
you can't pillar directly in front of
the back
you.
end, so that final hit will be
because
a
it
little bit
snaps back too early.
And man, has this been super satisfying to use in test.
It feels so good.
Right. I love it.
The anticipation of that final shot, and it's got more range now than it used to have, and that has felt really, really strong for him. On her is truly feeling better than ever.
Oh yeah.
Between being able to manipulate your pillar a little bit better, your pillar being even stronger in general, and then this ultimate is just crazy.
Look at those effects on that pillar fade in and fade out too.
Yeah.
You know,
whole team was cooking.
All right. I wish we could spend an hour.
Yeah, I know, right? AJ, I feel like I got to throw to you for Goobis.
Oh, we're gonna. Okay, yeah.
Have to.
Sure. I'll take it. Well,
just real quick, just super temp. Obviously, we're in Switch class and doing command stuff, so passive meter stuff like that. They're overriding on top of each other. Vision slots, stuff like that. Stuff that would be there in normal games, we can address.
A lot of that is specified on the patch notes too. Which characters are intentionally missing passive meters or have temp passive meters? Which characters don't have updated icons yet? We do intend to update
ultimate is
all
so
of that
cool
for everyone. So if it's not there, and you're also getting a little bit
of
a
preview
build, so you're seeing some things that won't be in the alpha. But yeah, good looking out, Clumsy. All right, so Goobis, let's see the kit first.
Bam! God, it's so cool.
I love that new ultimate animation.
All right, so the main new things for Anubis are, one, he's got a brand new passive, the Scales. So his passive is a bit of a callback to a Smite 1 item. For every 10% of HP he loses, he gets additional lifesteal and protections. So he just gets harder to kill and more threatening as he gets lower. Now his Smite 1 passive just gave him a massive soup of stats, and this will be a little bit more relevant when we get into the item section, but we are doing a lot of base stat adjustments and stat availability adjustments, overall some power creep resets and some item stat bloat, and in which case that requires the gods to get a bit of that too. So like some things might look like, oh, that's a very like maybe a more specific set of stats or stats in a different number, but they are generally really powerful in the new context.
Yes.
Specifically lifesteal, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Him being able to get this additional bonus lifesteal for free is really strong. And him getting the extra protections makes him hard to take down even when he's max DPS build. The other big change is the ultimate. Had a similar rework to On Her, except the big change with Anubis is his is front loaded. So if you watch closely, that first
damage,
hit of that burst is a significantly larger tick of damage.
It's also a larger hitbox.
What is it, like a 6x ticks? We calculated it out to do as much damage as it would have done if he was just ticking the whole time the animation takes.
Right.
Yep.
So instead, you get that first upfront burst. It makes it really important, and it makes it really valuable to just hit those wrap combos. He's got some other fun little things, like Mummify now does damage, and it scales off strength.
Yeah.
Right? And it does physical damage.
It does scale off physical
I did a build with this, and I won the game.
Don't scale your Mummify.
I was doing damage because, again, like,
Don't
we'll
do
get into
it.
when we get to items, but there is a lifesteal physical item that actually is very good to splash on him because it just actually helps him do the surviving that he wants to do more often.
Every god's basic attacks, whether they deal magical or physical damage, have 100% strength scaling and 20% int scaling. So if you buy full strength on Goobus, your basic attacks are hitting just as hard as any strength character. It's just the things in their kit that make them have attack speed stims or protection shred that potentially make them even better carries. But
hey, if you stun, you get like 2 free crits.
It doesn't mean you can't carry Goobus. Some of these builds are memes, but we wanted to have more builds and more viable player
There's
creativity.
a lot more
You can't have
memes
more viable builds
in
without
Smite 2.
also
That
having
is
more
true.
meme builds.
True.
Right?
True.
Those things
A
go
lot
together.
more memes.
All right,
That's
let's
a
talk about
fact.
Athena now. The goddess of wisdom. Pawn's gonna get us set up here.
Yep.
Take it away, Pawn. This is one we're working on.
Yep. So Athena, the first big thing that you're going to notice is with Reach. Actually, we'll just go through the kit real quick. Go through all that stuff. We'll get to mid lane. Things should look pretty familiar here. We got Reach, the passive, charge in, hit. We got Taunt, which the bots will not taunt. So,
but they're taunted.
yes, they are taunted.
You can see it there.
And then we'll get a.
Oh yeah, we need an ally.
120.
Another cool thing you can see as well is that anytime an enemy is hit, you'll see the damage text fly in, and the reason why I'm pointing that out is it has a symbol for physical and magical damage. So right there you can see the little swirls. That's magical damage, which gives you kind of a preview. There's physical damage with the swords.
Nice.
Yep.
Keep an eye on that, everyone.
Yeah, so Athena, the main changes for her are with her ultimate. So her ultimate ability now actually provides an immediate shield to the target, and whenever you actually teleport
She's
to a
so
target,
strong.
when they die in Smite 1, they actually go straight up and down in place. Your Athena does. You actually go to the target, and the main reason we made that change was we wanted to make sure that this
She's
ability is
so
meant to
strong.
save someone on your team, and there's a lot of situations where ulting someone at low health, the mitigations just didn't really help them. They were going to die anyway. Or ulting someone low to try and save them. If they did die, you're now not
so
joining the team
strong.
fight, and you're unable to help the rest of your team. This just makes the choice much more straightforward, much less metagamey in how you want to try and approach it. You're really using this to really save your teammate, come in their clutch, and then join the team fight and taunt everyone and help in the best ways you can. Aside from that, obviously Reach, a really, really powerful tool in regards to like a Polynomicon jungle build for Athena in Smite 1. Well, it's can crit. And it, again, all basic attacks work off strength. And so we've had builds where Athena is really utilizing that reach to just absolutely throw these huge reaches that just do a ton of damage. And similarly, her 1 actually scales off strength as well. So your charge in and 1 actually can be a really, really high burst combo with strength itemization. So you have a lot of build opportunities available to you.
And the 1 is faster charge now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's true. We also made the 1 a faster charge. You should be able to notice that's a lot quicker of a pacing. And she doesn't turn to a giant ball of light when she dashes. She actually has like a true dash animation, so she's always present on the field, which I think is just a nice touch. We have a lot of these nice touches all over all the god kits, but
Looks really good.
And her shield's like a fidget spinner now.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It just rotates. That's sick.
Fidget's better.
Me as Athena just
Just
all the
spinning the
time.
shield.
Yeah, no way.
Oh my goodness.
Spammable ability.
It's a small
know.
piece.
We also
DJ
just got-
Pawn is the spin king. He's always spinning something.
it's been really fun working with the teams and getting also a whole bunch of we should move on, but we also got we got an owl that appears right underneath her, just like a nice little nod to Athena.
Or tie-in, yep.
Yes.
Just a lot of really small touches all over the place.
I'm sure
We're really
players
excited for you
will
guys to
notice
see
this
that.
as they hop in tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's talk about Bakus. I need a drink, like, you know.
Yo,
Like,
me too. Let's. This is
not water.
I'm not gonna make that joke. Anyways, yeah. So Bakus, he's got a really, really cool new mechanic that I'm a huge fan of, and it's based on when he takes a drink. So after he uses Chug, his first ability, his next basic attack is enhanced. It's kind of like a built-in Polynomicon, but it scales off of his protections. So he can build that bruiser, tanky playstyle that he's really known for in Smite 1. Of course, you can go any build you want in Smite 2. That's a big point of it. But this is just a way to maintain that that present identity of tanky character that also does a good amount of damage. Bakus really does that really well. I think solo Bakus, I know Haddix has been playing a ton of it in Smite 1 recently, but I think it's better than ever in Smite 2. He has a lot of good strength and int scaling combos. I believe belly flop scales off of strength and does physical damage. He's physically jumping on you, so it doing physical damage makes a lot of sense. And so you can really do some fun stuff with the belly flop into enhanced auto combo there that he feels really, really good.
And we've also significantly lowered the post fire on Chug so that you can actually get to that attack a lot faster. I believe it's like even cut in half from what it is in Smite 1
Yeah.
to really help enable this.
Nice.
all right, Bologna is up next. Our poster girl.
Yes.
Yep. This is one of my favorites, I think.
Yeah, this
Yeah?
this
Yeah.
she did some really
Keep
cool
repping
new
it.
things. A nice thing to call out while we're running back to the mid lane is that just like
our
the base
poster
stats
girl.
for
Our poster
characters
girl, she
are
broke the game.
different now.
Yes.
So keep that in mind. Everyone gets base strength.
Yep.
Strength is what kind of dictates your basic attack damage, even if you don't buy anything. So you do get base strength for that, and that means that strength-based abilities generally have lower base damage because they're already getting a significant amount of bonus damage scaling. They effectively never have 0 in their scaling component because every god has base strength.
Sure.
And right now in the current build, everyone has the same base strength. So that gives, like I said, a lot of those gods that we were talking about being meme ADCs, or like we've had, I know Pawn for sure has stomped a playtest or two as physical jungle Bakus, similar as you can with Ymir, because belly flop, or you can queue up the chug, belly flop on someone, guarantee the hit with the chug. Chug scales up protections, but you still get bonus damage off it, and it's just a hard physical. You can just imagine it's a full hunter physical basic attack hitting you, right? So the base stats change in Smite 2 is really unique. And tomorrow,
I promise
when
that
we have
your
our Dead
game
Insight
is going
show,
to crash if you play the alpha, and I promise the servers are going to crash. But you know,
if that's what the people want.
Bringing the receipts.
But we have some really cool stuff to show off in that regard about how
the game is still damn cool.
How we clamped them to be more similar to each other.
Yeah.
You know, that things that play into that creativity, flexibility, skill seeing, skilling, and competitive goals we have.
And another thing to note as well is that, like, obviously we're in the alpha state, as we've said it several times. There's a lot of things that are changing. There's a lot of things that are changing rapidly. Whether it's, you know, Zeus ADC, we're just calling that out. I was like, maybe Zeus ADC is stronger than Zeus Magical, and maybe there's basically what I'm trying to say is there's imbalances that we are going to be ironing out over time, that we're going to be tweaking over time. There's going to be a lot of things, whether it's the items, the gods, the map, right, gold, XP. There's a lot of things that we're going to be constantly tweaking. So if you see something that feels,
sorry, are you saying that we might not have balanced the game from the very start? It might not be.
All right, Aggro, I'm going to cut you off. We're ready to go back to the game. I want to see
Hold on, I'm getting
Let's
a
go,
message
let's
from
go.
production to shut up.
oh, okay.
Speaking of alpha, the passive meters stacking on top of each other there, that was what was. So obviously not an issue that you've run into, but
Funny.
that was what was happening there.
So Bologna, let's see the kit.
Oh yeah, Bologna's one of those takeaway ones of like everything just looks so damn good.
So the main new feature for Bologna is her passive. So she still builds it up by gaining stacks by attacking, but now she gets a specific unique stat for each weapon stance she's in. So you get the movement speed, or if you want to bring up the full tooltips, because it's a lot of stats, but you get the movement speed for or sword and shield will give you protections or both protections. Hammer gives you % strength.
Yes.
That's
If
good.
you want to go full damage Bologna,
The hammer
and
is
Scourge gives
massive.
attack speed, and all basic attack stances still give the movement speeds for stack.
Correct.
The really cool tech here is that it transfers as you change stats. So you can build up your stacks, and then when you change stances, you will be now max stacks, getting the benefit of whatever your stance you're now in. So you always get the movement speed, but then you can switch between the three. So it makes being in her stance and fighting even more impactful and more important than it was in Smite 1.
Right.
There you already have the, they still have their unique triggers, the cleave damage, the heal, the building up of block stacks, but you also have those additional buffs on top of it.
Yeah, I think the heal on the 3 changed a little bit as well, right? It doesn't require 3 hits. Now you just get a little bit on every hit.
Yep.
That's true.
Small adjustments like that.
Yeah, a lot of balance adjustments. The reflect damage on her block stacks on her shield bash now are protection scaling damage.
Right.
Yeah.
So the tankier you build Bologna, the more damage you'll reflect, the more thornsy you'll be.
Yeah, she has that kind of identity as the anti-inhander, where she's really, really good at stopping you doing that. And if she wants to build into that, she is very good at doing that.
Yeah, I just think, her character, her character fantasy is that she's this master of all these weapons, right? And now you feel like you already have the different in-hand chain for each weapon, but now getting different stats based on which weapon you have equipped makes you really feel like you are mastering your inventory as you're playing
very
in a way
thematic.
that we didn't have before.
Nice.
All right, who's next?
We saw a lot of Cernos earlier, but can go a little bit more in depth and talk a little bit more about what's going on with Cernos here.
I want to commend you all first on not using any class names so far. That's very impressive, team.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even talk about
I haven't even.
We put this on the patch notes, but we were going to mix it into the God segment here, but there are no classes. No class labels.
I don't
in
see class.
Smite 2.
I don't see
we
class.
didn't want again, as we said, we didn't want to specifically box characters into specific roles. The class system
No more classes.
has benefits this. We liked it, but as a place to start something new, as a place to try something new, we wanted to do this where they don't have specific roles, specific classes anymore. Instead, they have a couple keyword tags. There's an example in patch notes. There's a couple keyword tags of what are the kind of features that God excels at, and you'll pay attention to their basic attacks, being ranged or melee or magical or physical.
It's better
and then
this way.
Pay attention to
so many of the changes that they're making is just like
defensive potential.
If a character can work somewhere, then what the hell, they work there.
So we're specifically avoiding using that term here.
What the hell?
Trying it out, getting used to it. It's a little tricky at first, but we think the creativity is going to pay off. So
no classes in Smite 2.
No classes in Smite 2.
Don't need them.
So, okay, let's see the Cernos kit, and then Clumsy can
It's
tell us.
all kind of a theme,
Yeah, Cernos' passive is...
If Ymir's an OP jungle, then by God, he's an OP jungle.
It's the passive.
Or the passive on the wall. Sorry, I get that one. You want to take it away, Adrian?
You want me to go this one? Okay, yeah. So the main thing is just there's a big rework for scaling.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Across the whole kit. Cernos is a true hybrid ranged attacker. He can get his ability 2 and his ability 4 deal magical damage and have int scaling. His ability 1 has a bit of mixed scaling, but generally, people benefit a lot off just building physical for the summer damage for a true carry kit.
Yep.
And then also the 3 is a physical damage with strength scaling. So it's split kit.
Yeah, and the two it does also have strength scaling. So the initial hit scales off strength and intelligence, but the area scales off intelligence. So if you want to go more mage-like, where you can have better clear, you want to be going more intelligence focused and using Bramble Blast. But the direct hit is still a very strong strength scaling ability.
So there's a couple cool things on this kit. The first one is the effect of how we can use scaling to scale utility effects, like on Shifter of Seasons. So generally, you would only see scalings on damage in Smite 1, but in this ability alone, you see a protection debuff gets it more potent off of intelligence scaling, as does a slow amount. So you actually slow gods more slowly.
There's a lot of learning in Smite 2. Like I said,
yeah, they
the
get
skill ceiling is way higher.
Speed, but then
the game is more difficult to play.
With a lot of heal scaling in Smite 1, but now we're using it as kind of like a way to encourage building intelligence on gods that may not build it.
Yeah, that's actually really that's a really good point, because previously one reason that we didn't was if a character scales off physical power and you give them physical power scaling, well, now they're
plenty of split damage items.
Also building the damage.
That's just free healing.
Yeah, it's just free healing, right? Whereas now we can go, hey, you're a mostly physical scaling character, or we can give you this heal scaling in context of a more ability-focused kit. The fact that we can freely use these different scaling factors means that we have a lot more flexibility to actually let you, if you want to go high healing so that you can sustain in fights, we can actually let you build towards that rather than potentially breaking kit design.
It's also a lot of fun when you have hybrid items or your supports or utility effects where they give you a stat that you might not primarily benefit from. So for example, in this case, maybe your support's getting a spoiler for Triton's Conscience, providing you intelligence, and it's making your heal stronger even though you didn't necessarily opt into that playstyle yourself.
We've never really had the concept in Smite 1 of oh, this god can just build differently, and then a part of their kit gets suddenly way better. And that is a common theme in a lot of other MOBA style games and other multiplayer games. And now it's if you really want to build a high int support Cernos, you can do that because you're going to be healing yourself for a lot more. You're going to be dealing because this is a flat heal plus bonus healing. It's not lifesteal on his one anymore. You're going to be slowing people, shredding people a lot harder, and you can combine that naturally into a kind of bruiser tanky build like you would see in Smite 1. That was just something that wasn't possible in Smite 1. So that's something that's really cool here. And one final note on Cernos is too that Cernos also was a bit of he just does everything too well, and so everything had to be super undertuned to get him balanced. So kind of splitting his kit kind of forces him to choose. If he's all in ADC, which he is one of the best ADCs because of all of his procs and in-hand synergies,
and just be able to shred.
Now it's going to weaken his abilities a little bit because those are int abilities. But it's not as big of a nerf maybe as I'm playing it up to be, because we also intend to really support hybrid strength int builds in Smite 2, and you'll see some really cool items, and Cernos is one of the primary users of some of those items.
Speaking of hybrid strength int builds, let's talk about Chop.
Speaking of,
there we go.
Moving along, designer.
I'm using these run back to lanes as time to talk about more high level god goals that we didn't get at the beginning.
Yes, exactly. Well, the hybrid chalk, I think some of our friends
chalk animations are so dope. They're so dope.
One of the most flexible buildable characters in Smite 2, because you can build him full tank. You can build him like super high int, and the character plays differently. The kit actually feels different depending on what you get. He was a good jungler in Smite 1 too, right? Just off this kit and strength scaling.
Crit off those like really huge attack chains.
Yeah. So he has a really cool flexibility.
Yeah, Chuck's main change is something that we wanted to approach in Smite 1 in so many different ways, but now we've got the opportunity in Smite 2, which is throwing that axe. Well, you can press that ability again to actually recall it early. So it's no longer going to have any issues with your torrent. If you want to use a 1-2 combo, you can still do that. But now if you don't want to actually teleport, you're using your 2 while your axe is deployed, well, you just call that axe first, and then you can do your 2 in place.
Feels a lot better.
So you can throw it out here, you're fighting this dude, you cancel it, you can now freely spin. I've used this feature every time I play him.
It's also just like makes like, juking the opponent so much better, right? It's like, oh, if you want to throw it over here, well, it's the mind games. Like I may go there, I may not. Now I actually have that choice.
Skill ceiling component, quality of life component.
Quality of life, yep. There's a little bit of change on his passive as well, where now he gets just a tiny bit of heal as well when he procs that cooldown reduction.
Yep.
And Rain Dance, and hybrid scaling.
So going back on that, he has a lot more int scaling on his utility. So kind of like we saw in Cernos, you have some int scaling here for his heals.
And the torrent protections.
The torrent protections one. That one's really interesting too. So there's going to be not just damage and these healing effects that we've seen maybe in Smite 1 scale, but now there's utility effects that are going to be changing based on your scaling as well. So we really want to play around with that. We really want to play around with we're trying strength and intelligence. Maybe we'll play off of different types of scalings in the future too.
All right, let's talk about Fenrir up next. And Pon, I'll throw to you.
Fenrir is so scary.
While we're running, I'm just going to say stuff.
He's so scary.
We saw there at the brief end, you saw in the tooltip, Chalk used the word displace.
Yes,
a lot of times people in Smite 1 would get confused about the term knockback, which was like the umbrella term for the CC, but that included knockback, knock up, knock away, grab,
He's
pull,
so scary, dude.
Now we're just going to use the word displace.
He's so
to
beefy.
describe all those, and then in the long description, we'll tell you
He's so
which direction,
jacked.
which
He's
style
so
it is.
cool.
It is.
Yep.
So yeah, this kit.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm
no next God Fenrir memes. Though,
I know, right?
The first patch.
He's here.
No, such a loss.
He's so strong too.
I think Fenrir is my favorite looking update for the 2 guys.
He is the best visual
alone,
update.
Like on the 2, just insane.
Yeah,
I love the
crazy.
chains.
So the main change that you're going to see on Fenrir is we wanted to really encourage that builder spender playstyle of his passive, which unfortunately all the meters are stacking, so you can't quite see his passive meter super clearly. But every ability now, if you're not at 5 runes, is a builder. So your 1, if you successfully hit a god, will give you runes. Your 2 already gives you runes. Your 3, every brutalized tick will give you a rune. And your ultimate will just immediately max you out. So if you are not at full runes, each ability can get you there a lot quicker. Other than that, the spending style is very, very similar. It's basically the same. But we just want to accelerate that loop a lot more effectively.
He's so scary.
Additionally, some subtle changes like there's full damage on Brutalize for the AoE, which also really helps with wave clear, especially we noticed as we were having like the smaller Harpy camp.
His jungle clear is so
good. And then
good.
probably the most meme potentially really breaking thing. We'll see. You guys are going to have fun with it.
Break the game.
Brutalize can now crit and trigger the in-hand item effects as well as ability effects. So
Hins brutalize,
crit brutalize, Braggy's heart brutalize. There's a lot of.
Haven't seen that item yet.
You haven't seen that item yet. You'll get there. You'll get there. This is really, really cool. It was something that was on his initial kit when he was first released, and we feel like we have the balance tuning knobs now that we can bring this back, and it could just be a fun, different playstyle for him where you can really burst people down with brutalize, but you're gonna be squishy going for it versus.
Honestly, there's so many good items that aren't crit. I don't know if it's that problematic.
You can have him brutalize.
Jotun's Wrath has Spear of Desolation cooldown passive.
New ability art as well.
The hit time and the
what's more OP?
Of the channel.
Yeah, it's just a ton of really
what's
cool
more OP?
here.
All right, who's next?
Cuckoo.
Yeah,
the danger noodle.
Yes, always one of the mid lane favorites. Kukulkan, very straightforward kit, wants to just hit his line.
Kukulkan's kit is very similar, except for that really big change.
Style's still there. The only big difference is for him in Smite 2, now his passive only counts item mana. So you have to be a little bit more intentional in order to get the most out of this very, very strong but easy to use passive. And something really, really cool is now, well, first of all, the effects, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did kind of a whole kind of color thematic shift with Kukulkan to make him feel like he had a more unique identity. Smite 1, it was actually kind of like intended to be like realistic wind, which was just kind of like gray or almost even invisible in a lot of places.
Yep.
And a lot of like
he can dash if it's inside of his tornado that he procs too.
So there was a big kind of color.
So freaking cool thematically. So cool.
There, you see the AO2.
It's so dope.
Blue, but when he steps inside his whirlwind, it turns red, and that's because if you use your 2 while inside your own tornado, instead of getting your movement speed buff that cleanses, slows, all that kind of stuff, now we're missing us up with all the survivability crap. It's just it's a dash that does damage and slows. It doesn't have the movement speed afterwards, so it's a much more aggressive option. But it allows you to really try and do that burst combo for Cuckoo really, really well. It really catches people off guard, and just having something conditional that is a little bit more narrow.
Congrats, now he's unkillable,
really
except for the
cool
fact that he gets brutalized in one shot. So
players to flex their knowledge and their ability.
Mages
to get the most
are
out of
not
the kit.
strong
So
right now in Smite 2, from what I've seen.
Abilities like this that are more niche, more conditional.
They seem to be one of the
powerful
weaker
when you get the right
classes,
opportunity.
actually.
This one was just also fun, and it's one of those stories where it's like, hey, we wanted to do more interesting things for these gods, and then we was like, oh, Cuckoo-Con, we can do stuff for the passive, and then like AJ and Pawn one day was like, let's just do this, and I was just like listening to their conversation while working things aside. I'm like, we're doing what? And then like a week later, it's in the game, and I'm like, oh, sick, this is awesome.
Faster than that with all of our cool
it was like the next day
tools, thanks to the Unreal Engine 5.
I know, right?
Based on testing, based on like the new things that we can do, just like we just got it in, which is awesome.
That's awesome. All right, Loki is up next. To much joy or
God, everybody loves to hate
depending on who you are. Yeah.
Loki's busted.
So
unless they nerfed him, he's
people
so
might
strong.
notice that he is maybe the only god that's we have Fenrir too. So like there's a little those are the 2 probably default junglers, but I do want to call it out to encourage people to try jungling on some of those other gods. Ymir can do it, Cernos can do it, Athena can do it,
Anubis can do it.
So like
Anubis can jungle.
It doesn't have to be Loki mirrors every game, but I know a lot of people are. I mean, Loki is just super popular and super fun, so we're probably going to see a lot of it. So, are you going to demo the kit on the jungle here for us, Pon Pon?
Well, I want to try to get him to fire, but I don't know if I can do that in this environment. So you might not be able to see.
Bots shoot should work.
Not in the environment we're specifically in.
Okay, that's fair. So there's one new feature of Loki that we might not be able to demo today, but let's just demo the kit.
The itemization for Loki is
beautiful.
Really strong.
So
assassin items
a lot of familiar
very
pieces
good.
here, but the
jungle
so a couple
items.
cool new ones is first of all, Vanish will completely reset its cooldown after a successful kill.
Yep.
So you can stealth in, stealth out. Yes, God. And it's a kill a minion. Not kill or assist.
Right, just kill.
So like you can actually stealth in, stealth out now.
Yep. So now you can see I have cooldowns on, so it's on cooldown. We kill, I immediately get a stealth.
Ooh, we can talk about those death effects, which are super sick.
Right, we do have new death effects that we felt like would be more responsive, more
they look so
specific and
good.
unique.
Those accolade icons looking slick too.
Yeah.
And all this stuff is like, I mean, accolades. This is the first version of accolades. We're already working on future versions on the functionality.
He's
but,
very strong.
Yeah, already looking cool. Thank you for killing many.
Very
many gods.
strong.
The other one that we were talking about was a blind. We've changed the way the blind works. It now kind of puts more of a shadow dome over a blinded character visually, kind of like Xbalanque does.
Yeah.
Yes.
This Loki blind was very noisy, visually noisy, kind of like, uncomfortable to a lot of people. So like we were trying to think of something that had a more specific gameplay effect and more
He's
consistent
honestly
and
one of the
less
only things about
grating
Smite 2
visual
that I don't like.
style. You'll also see some thematics like the ability to is a little bit more shadowy themed now instead of the neon green. And I will also call it, like, for people who are going to look into these gods really closely in the alpha, which is obvious, that we do have a known issues list for a couple gods in the bottom. Some of the way the Loki alt changed around there's no cripple on his ultimate right now. We hadn't made that CC yet at the time to make this build. We have to make everything, in some order from scratch. So that didn't exist in the game yet. So those are things, and the attachment rules, some of the more complex programming stuff. These are listed on the known issues for Loki, as well as like
there should be plenty of ways for you to get feedback from the alpha.
Things like that. So check out that section when you get
I'm
there.
I'm sure they're going to have like alpha forums
in
in their Discord and crap.
All right, let's take a look at Neath now.
Another god with a very big playstyle change.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I think this character is
Neath is a way better
mid character first
way
now.
better.
Sure.
She
I
is.
think so. I
She's
mean,
primarily
I
in
can see
now.
her being played in both. Starting right off, yeah.
What?
Leap can now
She's
go
so
over
strong.
walls.
Flip over walls.
Lass has got a
As long as you
lot.
have a valid landing.
I had to show it off that way.
Yeah, that's good. Through the big window. Love it, Pawn.
And so Neith, like we said, she's one of those gods that definitely took the hybrid role and was a little bit more serious about it. The 3 is one of those ones where we'll also be doing magical damage in the 2 as well. Spirit Arrow is going to be hybrid. Ulti is going to be a hybrid. Other things there. So we wanted to take Neith, and we know she's going to be a pretty popular god. She's one where she has like a play style that's basic and easy to understand, and it's where we want to take the skill floor and skill ceiling, and really wanted to make sure that we create a little bit more depth to character, but we don't necessarily alienate the players who love her.
Two
and so one of
popped
the
on
big
a
changes
weave
that we
and then
did is around her
backflip
passive
it.
and around her weave. So her 2 now, Unravel, is going to be the weave generator. Whenever she uses this, she'll always create 1 weave in the center of the deployable and 1 weave per god that she hits as well. Her 3, her 1 or 2, that combo's still there. That'll be there to explode the weaves, and you can explode all of them. And her 3 now is not the weave generator, it's also a weave spender, and it can blow up those weaves in the exact same way. So the weave explosion is now kind of the passive itself, and we want to make sure that she has a gameplay that's more based around weaves. I mean, she's like the Weaver of Fate. We need her to play around with that gameplay a little bit more. So she also gains a stacking buff based on weave explosions. You can see that on the buff bar as well, stacking up to 3 times.
And so
Intelligence and
generally,
attack speed.
abilities will only deal like 1 type of damage. Not all the time. Some places they're split, like we showed Cernos. So like Neith has some abilities that deal magical or physical damage, but then she can benefit off of both intelligence and strength in certain scalings and certain
she still
amounts.
heals on the 2.
Yeah, so you can still build traditional carry Neith and get some strength scaling
significantly
on
buffed
all
in
of
all
her
ways.
abilities.
Most of her.
But then if you build
Always
high int
she got
Neith, you
buffed.
can really just be focusing on dropping weaves and blowing them up.
When I
and
played her
more
in
of
my
a
first
ranged
play test,
nuker
my
and
ultimate
not really
bugged,
using
and
your
I
basic
couldn't
attacks
lock onto
nearly as
anybody,
much.
so I didn't have an
And it's still very
ultimate.
viable, and it powers up the abilities a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, that spamming bot really had
Yeah,
They
the
fixed
bots
that.
have a very long
a
name.
rough effect on that tab screen.
I remember the first time I
good.
played Neith.
I know.
I tried
I
to
couldn't
3-1
hit
do
a
the old
Neith
combo.
ult.
I don't know about this, man.
Skill
There was a lot
issue.
of concern about that. For
Yeah,
sure.
this is fun.
It's so poor, and then 2 games in, I was like, oh man, the 2-1 combo it's so much. You don't have to use your escape. You're not
And that's a
backing
big one.
yourself up.
We were
Like,
thinking about that.
it's
We're
so
like,
easy.
why is her escape the thing that creates like the opportunities in lane and in field? That's kind of just a trap for casual players as well. For experienced players, like you wouldn't need to utilize.
Yeah, those are things we often ended up reworking in Smite 1 because of community feedback over time.
Yeah.
Right.
And now
if you're
you're
running away, you 2 your feet, then
And then
turn
you
backflip, and it roots
feels
enemies behind
well.
you. It feels so
This character's skill ceiling definitely higher.
Oh yes, much higher.
I mean, we played around with a lot of stuff. The ulti used to drop a weave as well, and then we realized that's broken as hell. So we
Yeah, and that would immediately kill the person.
Yeah.
Shout outs to the alpha playtesters.
There we go.
And shout outs to
was-
You're welcome.
making change.
Yep, and another thing that changed there as well is the ulti used to be stealthed inside stealth bushes during that time, and now you're revealed because you're in an active channeling state. So you can't just hide inside a bush, ulti 1 to blow up a weave and destroy that one person. But there's still a lot of fun stuff there.
Yeah, and that's an important rule for all characters, like channeling. You don't just want to be hit with a giant invisible area. Someone's channeling. Like that just looks weird and wrong. Oh well.
All right,
Okay,
we're
who's
on to
next?
Odin next.
Okay.
Odin time.
Odin.
I mean, we're gonna have a lot of gods to talk about.
Odin
in
was a
any
fairly
Smite
late addition.
to
He came
show,
in and
'cause
out
we're
of
gonna
the
always
pre-alpha.
We're gonna have new gods, but also the ported gods and the reworked gods.
Yep. So Odin is another character where we've leveraged a lot of the strength and int scaling as well. So his kit's going to be very, very familiar, and we actually had done the adjustment where his pulse was only 2 when we moved the homing. Smite 1 also did that change, so we are mirroring that change as well. But everything that you're familiar with Odin is still here. So you got the 2, you got the bird bomb, you got the pulsing, you got the stun throw, you got the auto attack stim throw, you got the cages to lock everyone inside. All that stuff is very, very familiar if you're an Odin player. His passive is also still the when targets die, it's just been simplified down to 2 targets rather than stacking up to 4. And you can see here it's giving strength and intelligence, which is useful for him because while lunge is a purely physical ability, his shield is a lot more interesting in terms of strength and intelligence. So it actually scales off of strength as well as intelligence, and it scales even more off intelligence. So if you want the biggest shield possible, you want to be going intelligence, and that will scale into the damage advantage of your 1. Additionally, his Gungnir's Might, the pulses are intelligent scaling, but the actual throw projectile is physical, and that matches on the ultimate where the projectile that follows targets if they leap out of it or leave it is also physical. So lots of opportunities here for you to play more kind of that runic, more mage style Odin, really focusing on these giant shields and consistent damage output from these pulses, or you can play the more standard strength Odin and have a very similar experience to what you play with in Smite 1.
And that attack speed stem is even stronger in Smite 2.
Yes.
And in a little bit more scarce, balanced stat pool, it's even more powerful.
Yeah,
it is a really meaningful contribution from the kit now, much more so than I feel like it ever has in Smite 1.
Yeah, he really is the example character for, I think, once we get into the itemization, his kit, the thing that it really brings to the team is that flexibility, that ability to initiate, that ability to be the support role where you can really protect and enable your team. And a lot of the items that he can build just work so well with his kit. So he has a lot of additional ways of playing in here, even if his kit feels very similar. So it's really exciting to see what Odin's going to be able to do with the tools that he has.
And one thing to look out for as well,
You know what time it is?
Oh, yeah.
Ymir
is here.
Let's go right into it.
You have one more thing to say for Odin?
It wasn't necessarily for Odin. I was just saying nothing to be careful or to have a look out for when we're looking at these gods as well. It wasn't just the items and scaling. Some of their cooldowns changed quite intentionally too. We wanted to do a pass to make sure that things didn't feel exactly the same as in Smite 1. So you might see some gods that have a very specifically reduced cooldown or increased cooldown.
Yep.
So here you see the famous Ymir rocket jump.
Yeah.
Clumsy, you had that line in the keynote, right? You know,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, Ymir just feels like a whole new god, really. I mean, doing the exact same things, but
the 2 now. Yeah, you can move.
Strafe while you two. Strafe while you two.
Yeah, he can now move.
Look at it.
While he's 2ing, and this feels
He's so strong.
unbelievable. Like,
He's very
being able to
strong.
adjust this aim. Again, yeah, running away, you start it, you turn around, lay it down behind you. It feels awesome. And Ymir, I mean, for our old alpha and beta players of Smite 1, a lot of them miss that face punch Ymir, the crit Ymir, because it scales off of frostbite, which increases damage to you. All that
His
kind of
kit
stuff.
is
It's
awesome.
back.
It feels
so good.
His
Clumsy
Coco
literally
Demon
almost,
skin
killed me in 2 seconds.
I love playing Ymir
Awesome.
jungle. It's so
Yeah,
much
just
fun.
the
Wall
strength.
also applies
So
frostbite.
The wall apply on the knockback
Get
applies
displaced by it.
Yep.
Yeah, just so many. You want to talk about a god who can
Behind
make
you.
plays now? Ymir is he's always been a playmaker god. He is now the playmaker god, in my opinion. You can just do so many things with this kit. You can build him so many different ways. You know, our Rainian, famous Smite 1 Ymir main, he's going to be able to do a million different things, I'm sure. It's just, you can play 10 Ymir games in a row, build 10 different ways, do 10 different things for your team. It's awesome.
The legend of face punch Ymir,
legend.
Yep,
only a
it's
myth
back.
to most Smite players,
I know, right?
has finally returned.
It's back.
And I'm sorry, Agar, you did a lot of talking for Ymir, but I feel like I have to throw it to you for
yeah.
Zeus. Agar was like, bring it in. Let's
Bring
go.
it back. Yes. Okay. So, those who have followed, my podcast, the Backliners podcast, all that kind of stuff, they will know that I have
Plugs on the
right? We're doing a show tonight to talk about all this. I have been a notorious Zeus shield hater. In my mind, this is the risk-reward character, where if you make a mistake and
Zeus
I
is
hit my
way
chain lightning
more
among
difficult
2
to
gods
play.
that are bounced, together, I'm going to be able to do insane things. If I miss, oops, I died. Sorry, team, I'm not that useful. That's the whole draw to this character to me, always has been. And this is one of the things that I'm most excited about for people to get to play with is Zeus's new identity, because I think he really does feel so different in a really refreshing and fun way. So AO1, still chain lightning. The 2, no shield. Instead, it's this stim where lightning comes down, hits everyone around him, applies a charge, and then he gets movement speed and a bunch of attack speed. And we've been talking a lot about ADC Zeus, Strength Zeus. It's because of this ability that it enables. It's really
He does
an
a lot of
stim
damage.
that allows his kit to
So
feel more
much
in-handy and
damage.
tie in with that passive that he's always had.
He is
You might notice the
very
long-time Zeus
risky.
players out there
Super
that Pun is
easy to kill.
detonating, and it's not removing these detonate stacks. It's not this OP.
It's also stunning.
Yeah, it's also stunning, by the way. I was getting there. It's back. The stun is back, but it doesn't remove the detonate stack. So you don't have no cooldowns most of the time, but it allows you to stun and then keep in-handing for a lot of damage without feeling like you're dropping these detonate stacks and then you're losing your in-hand damage and all this kind of stuff. I think Zeus does have one of the bigger playstyle shift changes of the Alpha Weekend 1 gods.
Play him in dual lane.
Play him in the jungle.
Jungle Zeus feels
the
really
real
good,
secret
and
to Zeus and Smite 2.
Definitely losing the 2.
You build up 3 stacks on somebody.
Does hurt his way
and
clear
then
a lot,
you throw down the ulti and stun them, so they're stuck in your ultimate for a full second.
Plus in PvP.
That's the real play.
That really makes you think
you
about
don't
this
ulti to
character
build
in a
up
whole
stacks.
new way.
You build up your stacks, and then you ulti, and then they're stuck in it.
Zeus ADC feels
Strength Zeus.
Well,
Zeus.
I think you have even more flexibility than that. I think you could play support Zeus, and you could build CDR and tanky, so you could just be in the middle of the team, constantly applying charges, and with low CDR, stunning people. That is a lot of early pressure that transitions to like a tank. I think there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this.
Yeah, solo
what have you
Zeus where
done
the lane
giving them this
cleared-
idea? Like,
Yeah, no, like I can think, I'll just talk about all the ways to play Ymir. I think there are so many ways to play Zeus, and I just like, I can't wait to get to play him against a bunch of new people. Like,
There's also a little sneak preview here of a feature where the enemy's health bars have 3 pips that light up for the number of charges.
Yes.
They're not lighting up currently. Potentially.
Yeah, the bots are a little bit weird. It works like a lot of our features against bots right now are a little bit buggy. They work a lot better against players.
I'm not sure if this feature for Zeus's charges is actually in Alpha 1 or not, but you'll be able to see that if you have charges, and you can even see that as long as you have vision of the characters. You can see it over walls.
Yeah.
Because previously you have to see the little orbs. Now, as long as you can see their nameplate, you can see that UI element that shows you if they have charges.
Yes,
It
feels
is-
really
Aggro
good.
wants
So
to
much more
ruin some
clarity
people's
for
day,
him.
for sure.
It makes a huge difference for
Can
sure.
you use your
All right,
skins
those are
tomorrow?
all
There's
four
like
slots.
that's all for the
there's
guys.
like
had to
10
enter 14 gods
skins
at a
in
time.
Smite 2 right now.
I feel like we kind of speed ran that.
Don't
though.
yell at me if there's like 8.
Like,
It's only been 4
but
hours.
something around there.
Oh my gosh. Well, we still got a lot to go over, and this is probably even bigger than the gods, I might say. We're going to talk about items now. So while Pong gets set up, AJ, I'm going to pass to you.
For the high-level goals.
The high-level goals.
That's right.
High-level goals.
Again, we're really trying to facilitate the creativity with these items in Smite 2. We want to increase the skill cap in this way. This is probably one of the most skill ceiling raising changes in the whole game. We want to provide something just new and different from Smite 1.
I'm so excited for Smite 2, guys. I hope you're excited.
Change for the sake of change.
I hope
but
you're excited.
The change here is part of the advantage of these other goals.
Yes.
And we also want to create items that have more specific and intentional purposes. So that was kind of what I talked about earlier. A lot of items in Smite 1 have gotten kind of adjusted
Everything
so
more
much
broken
over
now,
the
yes.
years that they do, a lot of things just do a lot of everything and do everything well.
The in-game
So
design
we're really shifting
of
that
Smite
a lot in Smite
moved
2.
a lot
So
towards
avoid
League
items
of
that do a little bit
Legends,
of everything.
and the
Specifically
philosophy of
reduce
if
the item
everything is
stat
broken,
bloat.
nothing
So that's
is
just
broken
like
is very
the
Dota.
numbers you'll see will be in
They
a little
took
bit
a
smaller
lot
amounts,
from League of Legends and
or you'll
Dota.
see, most items only have 2 stats. Very few 4-stat items, which is very different from Smite 1. But I'll tell you, a lot of this doesn't mean that the whole pacing of the game or the DPS has changed in a negative way, though. A lot of the gods were designed with this in mind.
A lot of number
in
tweaks.
general, I'd say if anything, like time to kill is faster in Smite 2, especially in the early game. In the late game, it's similar, but it's all more variant because the way the gods are designed,
the way that the game plays, it's so hard
and the way
to
the
tell.
items are designed in this way, you can really hyper-index into being hyper.
It's hard to
doing
tell
less
the
damage,
time to
or
kill
you can-
stuff, 'cause, like,
or vice versa, or anywhere
in
between.
early game,
You
you
get a lot
probably
more
take a
variance.
little bit more
So that's
damage,
where we
but
get the
everybody has
strong
beads
trade-offs in
also,
build choice.
no
Like,
matter
if you
what,
really
even the
max out your
supports,
protections,
right? So it's
you might
like,
just cap
but
and
then there's
procs
like
for free
bushes,
immediately,
so you can gank
to
easier.
really specifically seek out the
But then you
highest
don't have
procs
any
items, you
buffs
have to
in the
think about
laning
more,
phase, so
is
that
my
actually
opponent's
lowers it
doing
a
more
little
physical or
bit. You see what
magical
I'm
damage,
saying?
and which one should I over-index on, and build into those, because those trade-offs matter a lot more in the new game. And we wanted to make sure that the passive and active effects are impactful
And the map is huge!
and meaningful. So again, we're just getting started.
No boost.
That's the big thing.
There's a
And
lot
you
of
get your
room
max
for this
movement
system
speed of
to
level
grow, because
1.
It's
No
also
more weird movement
significantly
scaling.
changed already. So we're going to go back in the game. We're going to look at a few more things, and we'll walk you through all these, this big system change here.
Yeah.
We wanted to walk people through how to get to this practice mode that I'm going to be playing in. So if you guys want to hop to my screen, even though I'm not on a map, you can definitely hop over
We'll
here.
show the in-game UI.
There's the UI.
Very pretty.
Right.
But if you click on any character...
Get us out of here, production. Get us out. Get our,
No, we're good. We're good.
no, our cameras to shoot the
Oh,
mouse.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we have to see
like
the mouse.
literally us.
Like literally
Actually
us.
Practice
good.
button.
There you go.
A lot of the front-end UI is still in attempt state.
Yes.
Some things look nicer than others, but a lot of this is
That
still in very attempt
collection
state.
button up
This
top
map, though, is completely final and
is
looks
where
amazing.
you see your skins.
As you can tell, has everything you need.
Yep.
So this is the first iteration.
The
of
design is very Dota. It is.
From the front end
I told you, you're taking so much from Dota.
Safely leave it through the escape button.
Two games that are vastly more popular.
Looks like real environment. It looks awesome. It's already in progress, but this is what we have for now.
Yes. Come on, Smite.
Other than to note that something that we didn't see here, if you go into the normal Conquest game mode, you will actually be prompted at the beginning of the game to see an auto buy fly in. So you'll see a couple of different
Everybody
options.
will be presented with the auto buy option.
Yes.
And one of them will, well, there's a couple different options. We've worked on those ourselves, but you can also just hit the manual if you don't want to opt into the auto buy. That'll be fine. You can go and
But there's multiple options to choose from is the big change from Smite 1.
There's a couple of different archetypes.
Heavily curated. You know, I went through and made
the music is in fact a
remix
of the original theme.
You know, if you want to focus on active items as a Guardian, or just more like passive stats and just help my team without having to worry about using a bunch of active items. There are a lot of really good options for you. You know, we talked about Neath having a lot of different play styles. There's an auto build option for Int Neath, ADC Neath. You know, there's a bunch of different options there. The big thing to note, and this is just for the alpha weekend and, you know, until we get it fixed, if you buy or sell anything, including potions,
turns off
that
your auto
will
buy.
cancel your auto buy. That is not the ultimate
the rest
intent
of this game.
For the rest of that game, right. So, you know, just be on the lookout for that.
If you set auto buy, it's truly hands off.
Yep. If you got a mana potion that you didn't want, just use it. Do not sell it, because you will be sad.
Nice.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk about
the auto buy's been bugged for
beads
like
and
a
wards
month
first before we start going into detail about the actual item shop and building.
So these are not really items anymore, right? We've done away with the relic system, and we have a very new item system, but we also kind of just have two default buttons that everybody gets, and they are beads.
No, you
and
can't
ward.
turn it
So
back on
everyone
once it
gets
bugs out.
purification, can cleanse themselves.
It'll work
CC
again the
immunity,
next game.
Everyone gets ward.
But it's dead for the rest of that
These run
match.
off cooldowns, and the active item system, which we'll talk about more as we go, kind of replaced the relic system in a lot of ways. So if you want more effects that worked like relics, you can now build tier 3 items that will have that on them. But there's a few things like CC immunity that are just extremely important to Smite. Specifically, we felt like CC immunity was the single most important one, much more important than something like Aegis or any of the other relics. So we wanted every god to have CC immunity from level 1 out the gate, ready to go. And we also still wanted to encourage warding and not make it feel like warding was any sort of like negative trade-off in the early game. So everyone has a ward.
You have no excuses now. Ward.
Ward. Bro, they had Vision Shard, didn't you? You know what I mean? Like, we can't help them, you know?
So ward does have a method to be upgraded to a sentry ward in the shop. There is no way for you to adjust or change or sell your beads at this time. So every other item you buy in Smite will go into your Smite 2 will go into your 6-item inventory slot, including consumables.
You can now,
So we can
before
talk
for not
about
warding.
potions
It's
first.
literally built into
Got
your
the
kit.
Classic health and mana potions.
Health
As you can see
potions
here,
are
a lot of
really
the items
strong.
have new art. Not
really
all
strong.
of them yet, though. So keep that
Buy
in mind.
3
And
health
also,
potions at level 1. They're really
lots of
strong.
things, you know,
you
there's a
can't
lot
have
of
more than
pieces,
3
new
potions at a
pieces
time.
and parts
well,
to this shop
3 of
to
the same
show.
potion.
So potions work similarly as you're used to.
Really
you can buy them
strong.
in stacks. You can fire them off. There's 3K potions.
It's
for
like
engine
200
strength.
HP
The
in
main shout out
like
to show
8
there is
seconds. It's a
everyone can
lot of
benefit
HP.
from both of these now.
Yes.
So you can even buy the 3K pot you want the most first. If the game goes long enough, buy the other one too.
Yes. And they don't stack. You can only buy one of each.
And they last forever for the rest of the match.
Yep. So you don't
Oh
buy
yeah, that's a good
multiple.
call out. Yeah.
Yep.
So Pawn, you want to walk us through just like the kind of high level component item building and what the visuals in the shop do to convey that?
Yeah, so the biggest change that you're going to see in the item store is that we moved
It's
to a
auto-consume,
component-based system. So
yeah.
previously you had the mace tree and you had your tier 1 mace, and that would lock you into 4 potential options that you could get by the end of the game as tier 3 options, which was good for kind of simplifying the flow of how those items would go, but it didn't allow for you to really change partway through. If you started your tier 2 mace and realized actually none of these mace upgrades are good, I need a different source of power, you were kind of stuck in that mace tree, or you had to sell and take a cost penalty.
3K
The component-based
potions
system
last
really
for
makes it so
forever,
that you can
yes.
actually go, I know I want strength now,
They're not
and you can build it.
nearly as strong.
and you can go like, okay, cool, I know that I want to continue going strength, and I can go into my tier 2s like Skegox, which are just more strength. And from Skegox, I can see all the things that could potentially build from it. So now what you do is you buy these component level stats, knowing that I want to be going for this. And because you're building these bits and pieces of these items over time, you can then combine them into the final item that
This
you
is the League of
want,
Legends
basically
style
tailor-made
build,
from the stats you knew that you wanted at the time of purchase. And so similarly, you can see here, yeah, I went to Axe first. Here's some tier 2s that are going to be really, really useful for me. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's go for strength and cooldown rate. So now I have strength and cooldown rate, and now
Literally
I can
copy
immediately
paste it.
see here's all the things you can continue to build from that. So it just creates this kind of natural
You can buy both
flow
potions,
of,
yes.
I know what stats
Up to 3
I
of each.
want at the core. I'm going to start building towards them, and I will naturally kind of end at the correct item that I really wanted to go for. Or I can pivot halfway through. So that's really what the component system is about, is you take these tier 1s, you merge them up, and then you continue to merge them up into the final item. And you can see we have a lot of final items. Lots of stuff for you guys to play with. It's going to be really fun.
Building is
Yeah,
infinitely
I think a
better.
big thing,
in Smite 2.
for players who are
Infinitely.
getting used to building items for the first time in Smite 1, you might read a guide or something like that and say, okay, I need execution.
It's more forgiving
It has
because you
attack
get to
speed,
choose your
but
item at
I
the
can't
end,
buy
basically.
bow, hunter's
But
bow.
also,
That's attack
counter
speed too,
building
but it's
is
not the
like-
light attack speed in Smite.
Right.
Yeah.
Way more
You need light
important.
blade. In
For
Smite
certain
2,
roles, for certain
there's
roles.
the executioner. I know it has attack
ADC
speed.
at the end
I'll
of the
buy
day
a
is like,
bow.
I want to
know
do
it's
as much
contributing.
damage as
Yep, it's
possible,
right here.
But like a support,
Any stats that you're buying that you ultimately
Bust
are
out
going
your
to
big
have with
brain.
tier 3 are going to have components that build into that. You're not getting cooldown rate out of nowhere. You're not getting penetration out of nowhere. It's coming from these individual components. So like
One
Pon
ward
said,
per
you can just
person.
I know I need a little bit of this, a little bit of this. What are my options if I want strength and
Only
lifesteal?
5 wards on the
I
map
build
at a
these
time.
two, I see what they combine into, and I know every
Gotta be
possible
strategic.
combination from there. So it seems daunting. I
There
know
is an item
but
that lets
I
you
think
put down an extra
ultimately
ward.
it will make the process a lot smoother
So,
for players.
A lot more
you get
intuitive,
5
too.
wards because nobody in your
It
team's ever
has
buying
just
it.
a lot more flexible design.
Yep.
Have to have 4 items per tree, have to be like this, and then
Yes.
those also had really weird ways of comparing strength to each other. So like it was very just perception-based balance. The Smite 1 item store very driven like that.
That
Obviously,
Blood
perception matters
Forged
a lot in
blade
balance,
is
but
going to
this
be
type
your
of
first
system gives you
item
true
on your
stat efficiency
hunters.
values that you can
It's
follow.
really
So
good.
you know exactly
Buy
that
it
10
first
strength is worth
tomorrow.
450
You're
gold.
welcome.
You can build the foundation off of that for all your other items to make sure that things stay in reasonable amounts.
You're welcome.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, and we have the spreadsheets.
We have
to show it.
spreadsheets.
Yeah, we'll bring up the spreadsheet.
So we wanted to show off a lot of these tier 1s just to kind of get this across. So Axe is the strength item, Gem is the intelligence item. Those are probably what most people are going to be starting with. An important thing to call out is that we changed the starting gold significantly in Smite 2. So you only start with 800 gold, which lets you build one strength or int
one
item and
tier
some
1 item,
potions,
basically.
or a non-strength or int item, or lets you build 2 non-strength or int items.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of different ways of starting your combo loadout. Although potions are pretty good, so most people end up, I think, I would generally advise
Potions
getting the
are
one
not
stat
pretty
item you
good.
want the most. And then a
Potions
good set of
are-
potions.
Yep.
The best
Another
item in
tier
the
1 item I
game
wanted to
for
call
the
out was
first
the Ruinous
5
Poison,
levels.
which
Or
this one doesn't
whatever.
have a stat on it, but this
3
is the
levels,
anti-heal
whatever it is.
passive at rank 1 for only 500 gold.
What value?
Right.
Huge.
No more starters. Only tier 1.
And get this on your basic attacks to get an anti-heal debuff for 500 gold at any time you want from very early on if you need to, and it builds into the 3 core: a strength anti-heal item, an int anti-heal item, and a protections anti-heal item. But this one's just unique, so I wanted to call that one out, and I think it's really cool.
That's cool.
Yep.
Let's move on to tier 2s and a fun one here, Manchubo.
Yeah, Manchubo is one of our premier tier 2 items for the attack speed tree. One thing that we want to shout out about here, so it has a passive of all targets that you're hit by your basic attacks take some flat bonus physical damage. And one thing that we're doing with these components is this tier 2 Manchubo is now going to be building into a whole plethora of different tier 3 items, and all of them have some sort of similar effect that's based off of that passive from the tier 2. They might not be the exact same effect. You're not building the exact same thing. There might be one that does take a direct benefit, but in general, if you're building that tier 2 with the passive unique
Devos are
effect,
gone.
you can expect that the tier 3s kind of play off of that theme.
So this is kind of the attack
There is
speed.
not a
in-hand
lot of
proc.
lifesteal items
So
in
generally,
Smite
you're going
2
to
right
get
now.
in-hand
Not
procs
a
of
lot.
different types above that. It is also a cool time to talk about this new concept of uniqueness. As you saw Pon earlier build 2 axes. And shout outs to PBM for the first alpha, first early close tests where he built the 6 Manchubo build and the passive stacks.
And there was a time, based on the feedback, we had tier 3s.
You cannot
not
buy
unique
the
at a
same
time, and
tier
now we've made
3
them
anymore.
unique. So you can't buy all the tier 3s in the world.
Right.
Tier 2s where we're uncapping that for now.
Tier
You
2s
could,
are
though, in
most
the
tier
original
1s are tier
playtest.
1s.
6
tier
kins
2s,
is
all
really
tier 1s
strong,
are
as it
non-unique.
turns
All
out.
tier 3s are not. We're going to be
So you
experimenting
can't
this
do
in the
that.
future. In general, we want to encourage non-uniqueness And there are some issues where, I mean, people might find some items that say they are not unique, but the passive still doesn't double trigger, things like that. So we have a lot of room to explore with that, but the foundation is here.
Yep.
Yeah, I know we were talking about it when PBM ran that 6 Manchu bow slot build.
There are some really interesting hybrid items.
People having fun with it. Let's just.
You don't have to build a strength item in it. Some items give both.
Hashing it out.
I mean, it was good. I don't think it was broken OP. It was like an early game rush, like power spike builds, but then
it was the 6 kins that was really the problem.
Exactly.
the non-UD into
that
6 kins. That was
brilliant.
That was very good.
No 6 kins in Alpha 1. Sorry.
Yes. Yep.
But we do have a lot of exciting tier 3 items to discuss.
Yes.
I know, right? Let's. We've got a few tier 3s that we want to walk through. We're not going to go through all the items because there are a ton. Right. They're all in patch notes for y'all to read, but we did want to highlight some. So Bloodforged Blade is going to be the first tier 3 that we talk about.
Yeah, getting some survivability for these strength characters. You know, your junglers might like this. Your
what if instead of your Bloodforged proccing off of a kill, it was an active item that gave you a shield for your 1v1
builds? Yeah, almost always featured a Bloodforged Blade, and it's just a scaling shield based on your strength.
Strength scaling.
So you don't just get to splash it for free. You know, you actually have to invest in strength in order to make the shield even better.
We're about to kill him. Nope, I got a shield, baby.
An active item.
Right.
So you know, no Aegis as we've covered.
This is the new Aegis.
This is your physical Aegis right now. This is your best option to survive burst the vast majority of the time. Is going to be something like Bloodforged Blade, and it's you'll be building it a lot if you're building.
You'll be building it a lot.
Characters for sure.
This is also a lifesteal item, and lifesteal has some significant rules changes in Smite 2. Lifesteal is now there's just one stat.
Lifesteal is
just
no
magical or physical. There's no ability or basic attack. It's all lifesteal. So you buy lifesteal,
and there's no
AoE
reductions on lifesteal
and his abilities.
You heal less off
no
of minions
AoE
than gods, but that's
anymore,
it.
But there is god versus minion reductions. So you get less
what
healing
Ajax
off of minions. So jungle camps, jungle bosses, lane minions. You'll get the full calculated lifesteal percentage amount for god versus god combat.
Yep.
All right, next up, one of my favorite items in Smite 1, making its way to Smite 2, Chronos Pendant. Clumsy, you want to talk about Chronos?
Yeah, Chronos Pendant's kind of, we wanted to make sure some items are familiar items. It is some of our favorites here. Chronos Pendant is the premier intelligence-based CDR option. If you want CDR on any sort of character, but you're intelligence and you want to kind of play on that a little bit more, you pick up a Chronos Pendant. It does a very similar effect. It's got your high amount of CDR. It reduces your active ability cooldowns by 1 every 10 seconds. And yeah, there's one thing that's important there based on CDR too, kind of like we talked about lifesteal. CDR has a change.
CDR is a huge change.
Cooldown rates.
Yes.
Cooldown rates. I mean, I think we wrote down the patch notes exactly like
not a percentage.
It's not a percentage, but basically what we're trying to say is it's uncapped with diminishing returns. So if you get to 40 cooldown rate, it's around 35-ish% or something.
Yeah, something around there.
50 cooldown rate.
There's a demo on the patch notes.
Yep, exactly.
So two
10
important things about this.
rate
One is that there are
equals
currently
about
no
9%
item stat caps
CDR.
in Smite 2.
Yes.
50
For this first
cooldown
alpha
rate
build, you
is
can
like
go over the attack cap of Smite 1.
32%
You can go you can build all of the cooldown in the entire
20
game.
is like
the difference
50%.
is that cooldown now has
more
a
you buy, the
diminishing
less you get.
effect as you buy more cooldown, and the number it works off of the protection
AKA
formula.
League of Legends.
There's some examples and numbers in the patch notes. 10 CD rate is like 9% cooldown, and then 20 is like 14. It's just slightly less than what it is, and it starts to trail off the more you get. So when you buy 0 to 10 is pretty valuable, but buying 50 to 60 cooldown rate is much less impactful.
Smite 1 players just went through a Sphinx's Bauble meta recently. They know how good stacking CDR, it being an additive stat,
League players
just makes
eating
it
good.
really, really hard to introduce a lot of sources for it, because then everyone has 40% CDR.
Right.
What's the point
this is
of
what
that?
We liked as this design.
It means that there's
because,
no
like you
CDR
said,
cap.
It doesn't require that 40% cap.
So an item having CDR,
you're
like,
oh, nice
I'm
rounded
capped.
number that adds to that. It just makes it still work.
Yep.
Even if you get it in different amounts.
So
it
you
lets
can
us,
always buy
splash it
another
around
item with
a little bit
CDR
more.
without messing up your
and
build.
it also serves for the temporary purpose of we have no item caps. We do intend to probably make item caps. We think we'll need to. For example, lifesteal, there is no item cap, and that would be just insane. And that doesn't have any sort of diminishing efficiency math. So there is just not very many lifesteal items in the game right now. That's intentional. So we wanted to talk about these items to show off these items, show some new items, active items, some familiar items, passive items, but also talk about these high-level rules. So Yeah.
I don't know if the tab screen
things
is
can
in
always
game
change.
yet. I don't think it is, but you'll
All right,
always
next
be
item
able
up,
to see
Screeching
what percent
Gargoyle.
you
This is a
have
new one for Smite
looking
2.
at
Who wants to
your
take this one?
tab.
Yeah, I can take it, and I can also show off the
But I don't know if that's
sorting
in-game
options that
yet
we
for the
have
alpha.
on the
Nice.
This one, if you want to just actually see all the actives and you just want to go a 6 active build, we have someone in our playtest who does that every game, and they have a lot of fun with it. You can hit this active option, and you'll just immediately show you all the active choices. And Screeching Gargoyle is one of them.
There it is. It's the gargoyle that's screeching upon.
Yeah, it's the one that screeches. So this gives you a lot of magical protection, gives you some cooldown rate, but its active is enemy gods in front of you are silenced for 2 seconds with a cooldown of 90 seconds. So if you are facing someone like has a long channel, or you have like a thing that you really, really need to interrupt when it happens, like Bakus, you really can't get stunned by Bakus Belch. You just turn, you screech a little bit. Screeching Gargoyle. All item VFX, most of them are very, very, very temp. All sound, yeah. They're design level temp. We're the ones who did it. We are not artists. We're not sound effects designers. I
didn't put it on the notes specifically.
No, we're gonna show the mushroom.
Yeah,
we showed it already.
You said we would talk about it. So yeah, a lot of the
This is not final art. Don't.
we stole that from some
He's my
random
best
Smite
friend.
But
all item effects in the game, so VFX and audio are temp, but the icon art is coming.
Yes,
final. It's in most cases is final or hasn't been touched.
But Screeching Gargoyle is a really cool active item example. This is something that you can pick up, and it can be a really strong counter if your character doesn't have a great matchup, or you can just bring this extra utility as your support player.
No,
so
Ajax.
just
Now
a lot of
it
really
is the
interesting
final
things that can happen
effects.
with this. It's just a very quick silence burst.
It's final now.
Very effective in what it does.
Yeah, it's a really good example of just the fact that we want to take active items, make sure that they have particularly unique and exciting effects. Like you said, you can pick this up as a support, but if you really need to pick this up as an ADC for some reason because you want to silence someone that's going to be integral to your gameplay, sometimes that matters more than DPS.
Yeah. Or like
the other
Some
day,
magical protections in your build, which is really effective.
the other day I was owning a Zeus. Clumsy was so scared of me. I was owning for once. He was playing Odin and he caged me and then would screeching gargoyle me. So I can't just drop my ult and start
Beat him down with Dagger Frenzy.
It's like adding a whole nother. I'm like, okay, I know what I have to play around for Odin normally, but now I have to add in this extra layer that was really cool.
and there is a counter item for Odin as well. So
Yes, there is a phantom effect.
that playtest you were asking for it.
I know. I was like, where is it?
Please, team, please.
Yeah, I didn't buy it though.
Oh, man.
Not my
Let's
fault.
talk about penetration
All right, Totem of Death.
and references to Smite 1. So there's like just a quick high level thematic. There's a lot of new items with completely new names. A lot of them are based on very specific mythological references or historical references, but fantasied up a little bit to be, exciting. It's not pure art history. Some of them are references to Smite 1. Some of them are direct, like Bloodforge is referencing off Bloodforge, Chronos Pendant, and whatever. And then, of course, everybody loves the totem, but our Conquest map doesn't have the totem, so we made a totem item.
When you buy this item, is there a sound effect of the world band?
Yeah, we should.
SWC?
You should do
that.
So this item is a premier intelligence and penetration item. So there's a lot of specifics to talk
right,
about.
we're talking
here that
about
we want to.
penetration
So
now,
first thing is you
folks.
might notice that this
All right.
gains
Cover
you
the little one's ears.
protections as you hit people. With ability damage.
This is the T
so
for T
in general, we
part of the
avoided
show.
just extremely high levels of shred on
Gains you
targets.
penetration, yeah.
It gains you % penetration.
Yep.
So 2 things to know about is 1, flat penetration is not
gone.
really on any items. There is one item that has a flat pen debuff on its passive effect, but there is no flat pen just as a stat. Flat pen is essentially just power times 3. Or strength intelligence times 3, and it absolutely dominates and disrupts the entire power curve of Smite 1. So flat pen is really
Bye-bye, flat
essentially
pen.
not in the game right now. And we don't really plan to bring it back.
I hope they
there's
don't put
one
it in the
exception,
game.
I think, which
Flat
is the
pen
Obsidian
is
Shredder, which
stupid.
lets you shred people's penetrations flat, but it has per level scaling on it, so it keeps it pretty. It's not really like that hyper early game rush.
Right.
So you're going to see a lot more % pen. The other thing we did is that % pen is extremely valuable, so we're offsetting it with the straight up
stats.
int or strength amounts. You are generally not going to see super high int and super high pen in the same amount.
Yep.
The same type of thing is going to affect items like Executioner you're going to see much. If you really want to itemize towards shredding tanks, we want you to sacrifice that high level burst towards killing other squishies.
And that's throwing people off so much. I mean, if you look at the stats, 10% stacks up to 5 times.
Yep.
Like, people are like, oh, this has got to be broken. And then they build that and they expect to deal as much damage to a squishy because they bought it first item or something like that. And you just don't. Because like you said, the math doesn't line up.
More specific counters, more specific trade-offs, more like not if this item
You
had
have to
100
actually
int on
think
it
about
would just
your
be the best
builds.
item in the game and do everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you have to build this specifically for those purposes. Other thing quickly to call out for this is that it does not have the once per ability trigger.
Yeah, this item
Not
specifically.
characters.
Yep.
So Cuckoo and Anubis use this one especially better
Right,
than
water.
Zeus can do okay with it, but like this one is specifically like that. But there's also a more traditional flat pen int item that you can use if you're more of a burst character, not a dot character, etc.
Yeah, percent pen.
Think about
And
my
the
build.
percent
What
pen, and
am
that
I?
has generally
A
been
mathematician?
applied to strength and int builds in a similar
like
way.
that.
Yeah, we touched on it really briefly earlier that we wanted there to be more intentional trade-offs in the item building system. This is a good example of like we mean it. Like
Yeah.
we will give you all of the pen. This is 50% magical pen. That is insane. You get 20 int. That is nothing.
And for the tanks on their side too, they have similar trade-offs that they're making. It's not that they're going to be both 200 physical and magical protections.
Yes.
They might be able to spike really high into physical defense, but they will probably be very vulnerable to magic damage because they are making similar levels of trade-off on what they want to be doing.
Yes. So it will feel, everyone in the friends and family tests, they go, oh, I would have 600 power and 30% CDR and 30% pen in Smite 1. And we're like, yeah, you would. Not here, though. You have to really...
You got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to be very intentional with the items you're building, and I think when you
What's the
make
grab
the
item
puzzle
by the
fit
totem?
together
Polymorph?
properly, it feels really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
All right, next up is kind of a dual topic here. 2 items, Dreamer's Idol
right.
and Avatar's Parachute. Did I say that right?
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
got it.
And you need both
This
of
is
them.
my
Yeah, I'm
favorite.
gonna buy both.
These are some of my favorite
Do they
items.
stack? I haven't
Oh yeah, they stack.
That's awesome.
And Fenrir.
I
They
love
do
these
stack.
items.
Who wants to intro these?
I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, these are really fun to make because I actually got to like prototype the scaling system. But yeah, so Dreamer's Idol and Avatar's Parachute. These are your premier. This is go time buttons. They give you a lot of strength. They give you a lot of int, and they have an active that gives you 20% of that stat on a long cooldown. So you
so
want to do
fun.
a giant cuckoo ult, get Dreamer's Idol at the end of your build, activate it, cuckoo ult, and hope that hit. Because if it didn't, you've probably lost the team fight.
You might be wondering why we're so excited about it. Because
You activate
He's swole goodness.
sometimes we just want to do fun stuff.
Yeah.
Get big,
Yep. That's so
Big,
awesome.
baby.
It's like that song from
It's a
Doug,
relatively
right?
long duration too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, like
10
this,
seconds.
10 seconds.
This item has a lot of int and strength, but not as many as some other items. We'll get to another one in a second. But it's really about, do you want to be really active in your combat? Do you want to specifically pick these extreme moments to go all in? Or if you just want something that's kind of more consistent, you can get higher int elsewhere.
Yeah, I think having it on Anubis, you wrap, you instantly hit your Dreamer's Idol 3 alt and get your all-in combo feeling really, really good. Like it has that active element that feels really engaging.
And just to clarify, your hitbox isn't actually changed.
Yes, correct.
Purely visual.
Yeah, purely visual. And we've kept the scaling reasonable enough that doesn't create too many gameplay problems. But yeah, you can tell that we're just like really like, you just get big, so it's really cool. It's really fun.
We're goofy.
It is just something that we tried. Again, just like we talked about in Smite 2.
Strong
one trust me
clarity
out.
for you or have this state active.
Yeah.
too,
You got a
right?
material effects.
So like, yeah, you'll have a bit of a gold or purple material, and you'll be big.
You'll be big.
All right, next up is the Nemes. I like this item name.
Yeah, so this is an item name, specifically the historical name for a pharaoh's crown is what it's called, is a Nemes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I like that.
That Smite can be educational.
Right?
So this kind of is the premier passive tier 3 support item. So like we said, we didn't want to really do the same traditional starter items from level 1, but this is one you can build into you're gonna get efficiently more health and protections than you would from most other items in the game if you follow the support play style way.
Yep.
So you can get
It's Steve, basically.
only lane minion assists will give you a permanent stacking buff of magical and physical protections. So good place to start if you want to try to play true support. Also, other places that we have seen people splash it late on off
In
tanks
the
and things like that. As long as you
were
really prioritize
unable
trying
to
to get stats, it can be
change
really strong.
Yeah, we've seen support players also just completely forgo it in favor of
the way
other
the
playstyle
active
as
items
well.
work
So
is
there's a lot more trade-offs to be had. So this is a
always
very consistent option,
goes
but
to
there
the
might be
far
other
left.
plays that you want to be making.
Generally, the thought process from a lot of people is
So
that
if you buy 3
support is going to
items,
be really active heavy.
and then your
And
fourth
that can
item's
be
an
really
active,
challenging.
it'll
So we
put
did
that
wanna make
item
sure
in
there
your
was a lot
very
of
first
just
slot.
like strong passive support
So you'll
items that
always
if you
basically
don't want
use
to
key binding 1
build
and then
all these
2,
actives,
3,
you
4,
can still
5,
be
6,
impactful.
depending on
And
your
while we're
active
on this
items.
topic, I will add one more thing: is that we
So
do
put
not
your
have
favorite
a bunch of
keybind
the
to
protections
keybind
aura
1.
items.
Right.
Those
Correct.
have been removed.
If that-
Yes.
does
You
that
don't
make
wanna
sense?
Just make the whole team
It- whoop,
tanky.
it puts
is your
it right
job as
into the
support.
slot for you.
We have more specific counter aura item options that are really good. We have more just cool, unique effects that you can get for getting hit by different things as a tank.
And you've got the mushroom.
Power you up. You can.
go.
That's an active though.
And that also
that one's
goes
really
into
good.
How many
the-
active
Wanna
items
play
I
with
build
no extra
generally?
buttons, though.
I
The
find
no
myself
extra
with
button
2.
support
Yeah.
build is
It is
pretty.
there.
I'm just saying,
The lack of
mushrooms.
The lack of ores also goes into the
Supports?
pen discussion too, because that was something that if
Sometimes
everyone had
they get
Sovereign
as many
Heartware,
as
they
like
had some magical
4.
penetration to be able
Right.
to burst through that. So a lot.
Other
stat-
classes
and
like
those are
2.
huge stat bloat because it's effectively
Yeah.
a full item worth of stats for your whole team.
And all this is super interconnected.
Yes.
So,
And on the Dev Insight Show tomorrow, we can show you the spreadsheets.
Yep.
And another support item, just to call out real quick, is Talisman of Purification too, because that's a really, really strong
yeah,
support
that's a
item. That we were talking about the beads effect, and everyone's got a beads. This is the
can get 2
item
beads.
to beads your team.
And if you just want to be selfish, you can use this to use your free beads, but then you can also buy an active and use this as a second one on a different cooldown.
Yes, yeah, being able to
2-time
cleanse
beats.
your ally from the Fenrir ult or the Ymir freeze or something like that. Like AJ said, I think that
That
in
item's
recent
gonna be
years at a
bought
high
every
level,
game.
especially, we've seen support kind
That's
of
a
become
mandatory
this,
support
you know,
pickup, in
using
my
their
opinion.
relics at the right time, really impactful team
Crazy
fight relics,
strong.
and I think
Crazy
support is
strong.
really going to get
And that's
taken
still
up to the
there.
next
Yeah.
notch.
Or yeah,
Exactly.
even
Like,
more important.
Yeah, you can have really varied active effects that really help your team that you have to know,
That's
hey,
like a
I need to be near
third,
this person
fourth
because
item
that's who
slot
the Fenrir is
support
gonna target,
every game,
and all those
in
types
my
of things.
opinion.
I think support is as fun as it's ever been, personally.
Let's look at hybrid
Support is
attack.
the most fun it's ever been in the
damage
history of
items.
Smite.
Death
He's
metal.
right.
Death metal.
The most
This
fun.
one's sick.
One of our favorites. So the thematic inspiration for this is that all of our strength and int items are instruments.
Yep.
And designed around that. We felt like that was a unique subgenre that fit this well. So
No
Death Metal
relic
has
dagger
strength and
style
intelligence
item that
and
I have seen.
critical chance,
Yeah.
as well as an active AOE sort of frenzy effect. So this one, we just love the name and we love the art, so we want to show it off. And also, this one is just a good example of kind of, we talked about Cernos being able to build into hybrid. This one and Braggy's Harp, which you might as well
Death
just show it
metal
off
is a
while we're
weird
here.
item.
Just hit the, like,
This is one of those
strength
hybrid
and,
items I was talking
Oh yeah,
about.
you
It's
filters
weird.
upon to hit strength.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's
Strength,
one way it's like, oh, you want both
int,
stats.
crit
Well, here's the
chance
ones with
in a
both stats.
frenzy
There's one
passive.
tank item that gives you strength and int, and then there's
Very
also
weird.
these 3. There's an aura, just a strength and int aura to just.
Oh, they
make your
changed
whole
it. It's not
team
the
more
poly
lethal,
anymore.
which is
I
really
would have the
fun.
different items with
Shout
poly.
out to that best temp art.
I know,
icon
right?
ever.
That used to be the
Brave
poly
baby,
icon.
Brave temp art icon.
We're gonna get bullied into that being the permanent art.
I wonder if they
I
got
know,
rid
right?
of
Just
the,
keep it forever.
the polymorph, or if it's not a
But Death
different
Metal
item
is
now.
the crit one, and then Braggy's Harp is like the traditional in-hand proc one. So
Yeah.
and you're going to get attack speed instead of crit, and you're going to get bonus flat plus per level damage.
And then another thing to mention is obviously, like, you know, us being in the state that we're in, we always want to look into adding more items, whether it's hybrid items, like this list could go on, but also you can just build a strength item and an int item separately, because that's also a very important way to build a hybrid character.
This is Alpha 1.0, the earliest 1.000 you've ever played in Smite. This is the beginning. We wanted to make sure that there was like the bare minimum for a whole lots of archetypes. So we definitely want to hear feedback on which archetypes need to have more deep options, which ones need to
freaking
have more range,
love
and which
the
ones
crit
could be replaced.
artwork, by the
Like I said, the
way.
only one
Critting
that
in
I've really
Smite
called out
too,
specifically because we
when
do
you get
not
that
have a
little
ton of lifesteal
pop-up and
items,
it's like
because
the zigzag,
if there
it's
is no
like,
cap, that
pow!
would just be the only way to play.
And
You feel like you
we'll get
really hit
around
him
to that as we
good.
get there.
Talking
Makes you
about
really
all
feel like
these,
you smacked him.
different interconnected systems. Sometimes you just want to go simple.
Sometimes you just want a stat stick.
Sometimes you just want a
a
stat stick.
pile of damage.
I buy a gem and a gem, and get a killing stone, and then I can go. I just want a second killing stone, and oh, look at that! It's the int item.
And that's just one single stat.
That's all it does.
okay.
A pile of
So like this is intentional. First of all, a lot of people ask me like
This isn't the
the
book.
passive is missing or something like that. But no, we are assigning stat values to the passives as well, and we have a stat value for intelligence. So this item is just balanced to have just intelligence for this price, and we thought this was fun because it just is a strong like
The itemization is so much more
measuring
interesting.
stick for how much int you can have in a build
So
and,
much
and
more
how
interesting.
we want to balance other items against it. And it's also just like, it's very straightforward. If you just want to you just need a spike event, this is good. In general, I think this item is very good, and people do slot it into most builds.
I would highly recommend getting at least one of these just like big stat stick items in basically every single one of your.
And now you can see the seesaw, or the difference, the scales between Eldritch Orb with your 145 int and then like the Totem of Death with like your 20.
Right.
But you've got a pen.
And even Dreamer's Idol only has 80, but that's assuming you're using that active and getting a lot more than 145 some amount of time, right? So it's very interconnected and very shifted. So I feel like if you try to do the math, it'll be a challenge. We've got a lot of it done for you. But if you play the game and build as you go, follow the auto builds to start, be careful focusing only on actives and passives and avoiding getting a significant level of stats anywhere. It's a common pitfall with the way things are balanced. That's not really related to the component build. It's more so about how we wanted to just like anti-stat bloat and increase more, make more trade-offs, make more meaningful builds. So that's a mistake that can be made. But in most cases, you can build a lot of different things in a lot of different ways and still feel really strong.
Ooh, can you Helm of Darkness, Pon?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So before we close out, let's just rattle off some other exciting items. We have
before we close out, let's just go stealth for 6 seconds.
Oh my god!
I'll just buy him.
AOE
Jade Scepter. Yeah, we're talking about our favorites. Jade Scepter's mine.
Yeah, let's go to the actives.
We have a sort of golden bow style item for physical tanks and a gladiator shield kind of style item for physical tanks. Those are in there.
Those are great.
We have a winged blade / solo sprint active that only gives you buff, speed buff, and slow immunity. We have the Helm of Darkness.
So you want to, here's a terrifying thought. You're in mid lane, you're alone in mid lane, and suddenly a Goobus pops out.
So anybody can stealth with this item.
Yeah.
It's so
Any
awesome.
god can stealth.
It's
Very
so
scary.
awesome.
Because it's like, just like we talked about with the
Very
relics,
scary.
kind of not being utilized as much, right? The active effects are those replacements. Where Blink is something that you don't see permanently built into you, but now you've got Blinking Amulet, you've got Helm of Darkness, you've got different opportunities and ways to do a similar kind of thing.
Yep.
And you could build more of these. We have a lot more room for
both.
flexibility on their potency and their cooldown. When you had to be restricted to only 2, and people were like, oh, but this is a discrete choice then where I can pick any of these 2, but it never was.
Never
Right.
yet.
You actually had to always get like a couple things. It did the opposite of that. So I think we haven't fully had pro level meta optimization of the gameplay yet, but we've already seen just so many more ways to use these.
Oh man,
items.
talking about temp
So
art.
stasis item. It's a very long delay, but then makes this orb, and this freezes everybody in place. So it makes them damage immune.
Yes.
Including allies.
Allies and
Everyone.
enemies all become damage immune and frozen in place.
Yep.
I think the only exception.
So you
is,
just press pause.
towers and maybe not even towers, but definitely Titan. You can't just pause the Titan. He will smack you.
We tried to do that at a test the first time I was in.
Yeah, we changed.
The Jade Scepter is a big
my favorite.
back, and that's on a high int item. It's really good on immobile mages.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's really good.
Yeah, Pon was
can
telling
do
me
some more spread.
knocking people back into Cuckoo Tournament.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yes.
Yep.
We got my favorite one just because of the mushroom.
The mushroom.
Yep. This is a pulse heal that you place down. Very, very good to.
When you activate your items, you also see the item name pop up in the air, and it will show that to all allies and enemies.
And the Hussar's Wing is the cleanse that you can get to yourself.
Cleanses slows and gives you sprint.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of items. There's a ward active item. There's a lot of cool passive items.
Stampede.
That people are.
Dagger of Frenzy is really staple for a lot of ADCs.
Yeah, lots of stuff for you guys to play with.
That's the second one that I get in
Let's put
my
everything on the actives.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh,
there's
World Stone.
balance. Oh yeah. There's the alt only cooldown item. There's
That's
a rebalanced,
that item on
Soul
Hecate?
Eater. We got Poly
Yeah,
and Hydras. Front.
Hekate's ulti on like a
We
40-second
got Gem of Isolation,
cooldown.
everyone's favorite.
Too bad she's not in the game anymore, but still.
Mailcoat.
Silken Milk.
Oh yeah, Silken Melko, yeah. And
Anti-attack speed and crit aura.
Meteor Hammer is pretty solid.
Yeah,
Right,
Hammer's
Meteor
great.
Hammer is kind of like new Golden Bow, but for tanks, and Dagda's is kind of like new Glad Shield, but more for tanks.
I like Hand of the Abyss. This
This is
one's
a really
really
sick
nice.
item
This is
too. This
sick.
is a hybrid intelligence strength item, but through the passive.
Yeah.
Gives you
Yep.
basic attack damage and int. So obviously, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
We want to make even more
sure.
crazy items. We want to make
We have a
even
list of
more
some
We got a lot.
intense
stuff we're
actives and
cooking.
passives that do crazy stuff. We want to add more items in general, but this is a good rounded start to kind of feel the system out, make sure there's something for everyone, and just start playing Smite 2.
That's right, and that's a good segue as we close our item section, just to kind of set expectations for players before they hop in tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow. It's crazy.
Tomorrow.
It's real, right?
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Have we said it enough? It's going to be a true
alpha.
So
Well, I will say it to you every time you watch the game.
Yes, you will.
See what you watch the game.
playable version of a game that we intend to build upon for years.
Yes.
Right. So it's not going to have everything Smite 1 has plus a ton more.
Right.
It's not going to be that. It's got a lot of different stuff. It's got a lot of new stuff. It's got a lot of the stuff that we think is most important to the core gameplay. You know, running around on a map, PvPing, and playing a MOBA and winning the game, right? It's a very specific focus. But we still want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what's most important to you, what's missing the most. The best thing you can do to help us is try to be specific. Yes. You know, don't just list off 100 things you want. Pick the thing you want the most, right? If you run into an issue, don't say, you know, Gem of Iso sucks. Tell us, is it too good? Is it too bad? Is it confusing? Is there something missing visually?
Is it bugged?
Try to be specific as possible. I mean, we get a lot of feedback that's just like, you know, or we have historically in this industry get a lot of feedback that's very vague. So as much as you can, please be specific. We're going to have a lot of specific systems to help support this, right, Isaiah?
Yeah, we're going to have an official survey that's going to be linked in game and, of course, plastered all over social media. Feel free to join us on our official Discord server, discord.gg/Smite game. Leave us all your feedback. Join in on the conversation. We've got so many people in there that love Smite.
We're going to have a bug report form, I believe.
Yes, we'll have
It's going to be a
That's good.
general survey, gameplay satisfaction form, and a bug report.
And a bug report form.
Please fill those out. We want to hear
Do
it. We
fill
wanna
those
see
out.
that.
Seriously.
If you think we don't use it, we do.
yeah.
Look at that.
Do
The
actually
bug
fill
report
those
form,
forms
once
out.
you
That'd
fill
be
it out, it
very
goes to a
helpful.
channel internally that goes directly to the QA team. It is the quickest way to report bugs to the team. So definitely be sure you're using that.
And we'll be following socials, you know,
We'll be in the Discord.
Watching streams, all that
Twitters,
stuff.
everything. We'll be paying attention.
Speaking of watching streams, the question I keep on getting is, can I stream this game? Can I make content? Of course. We want
do.
to watch all of your gameplay. It's super important to us. We're big fans of watching Smite content. And I've been personally just fiending for Smite 2 content. I know our creators have been fiending to make it. I've been fiending to watch it. We want to see all of it. So definitely once you hop in tomorrow, boot up the streams, get those 24 hours going, those subathons, those YouTube videos, all that stuff.
I've already seen a lot of crazy content creation planning by different streamers to do this. It's exciting.
So exciting.
Cool. And as we kind of set expectations for what's happening tomorrow, we're going to have a full blog post that goes out tomorrow with more information
Short?
on what
How
you
are
can
you?
expect in the alpha, going over things like what kind of content is available, what queues, what server regions, all that stuff. So be on the lookout for that will go out on.
And we're going to have the Dev Insight show.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's
the
true.
blog is going to go out the same time the Dev Insight starts. So 12 o'clock tomorrow. Be
So
sure to
tomorrow, all of us will be back to be in a more standard question and answer. We're going to be taking questions. Isaiah's going to be scanning for those all night.
That's right.
It's gonna be a long night. It's going to be a long weekend.
It's got to be a long week.
Any questions, anything
is
confusing
true.
about today,
That
we'll
is
talk
true.
about tomorrow, and we'll have chat pulled up tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll go into a little bit more of the details on the specifics. If the sickos out there want to see our spreadsheets, we're happy to share them. We'll do some fun stuff tomorrow to talk through all that.
I know, right?
What else is on the list?
If you
More
want to
things.
play tomorrow, be sure you've got your Founders Edition locked in.
Oh, yeah.
Loaded.
Got to do that.
You know, make sure that you've got access to play the game.
Gotta do that.
But I think that's just about it. Any other closing notes from the design team? We do have a special treat that I'll talk about after I let you all, give any notes.
Thank you to you all on the team. Thank you to the shout outs to the whole Smite 2
Special
and
treat.
Smite 1.
You gotta make
dev
me wait
team
longer,
and our support
Isaiah?
staff.
I've been here for 2 hours.
Everyone at this whole company has contributed to this game in some way.
Yeah.
And I know we talked a lot about specific gameplay today, but there was so much art, UI, back-end programming. I mean, we should probably talk more about the entire new online platform that Smite 2 is on. That's a completely new one from Smite 1. There's so much cool stuff to talk about with this game that we'll get into over time with you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to shout out everyone on the team. Thank you so much. And thank you to our testers who have helped us already.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone who plans to just be mashing Q button this weekend. Thank you to you too.
Oh man,
Every dev, every player, every fan for the last
Absolutely.
10 plus years working on Smite 1, getting us to Smite 2. Like, we're here.
Yeah,
We're at
my
Smite
final
2.
thing is we've had 10 years of Smite, right? And being at this first step for Smite 2 is just so exciting to everybody on the team.
Yeah.
I know players are excited, so I just can't wait for tomorrow.
It reminds me of the original Smite 1 alpha days, because I was in that, and like just the amount of feedback and the loop, like it's going to be really, really fun to just kind of relive that whole experience and build out the next 10 plus years of a great
Smite
game.
2 is past all of our bedtimes, but we're going to be here regardless.
Gameplay stuff today. I said I had a special treat. We kind of went over everything at a high level, but we figured why not show some gameplay? So we've got a video prepped. Some of the crew actually played a game of Smite 2. There you go. A full match of Smite 2
match between the devs.
I get busted here, and it has nothing to do with
too
how
much
poorly
for
I
me.
play in
I
this.
can't stick around for that.
Bad.
It's gonna be
My lane match.
I will say the
wasn't
video
best.
was recorded about a month ago, so what you see in that video is not going to be reflective of an Alpha 1. I even think Hecate might be in that video. Like we said earlier, early kit. That's not going to be the same thing as we see when Hecate finally comes to place. But we were at a place that we wanted to share it with you just to kind of get people excited and give everybody their first taste at a competitive, in quotation marks, game of Smite 2.
You should cast the whole thing.
I don't want to. I don't want to. Nah, you're going to see, oh, there's a chain lightning missed by aggro. 5 in a row. Crazy.
Cool. Well, chat, stay tuned for that. But until then, we'll see you
stay
back
up to
here, same
midnight to
place,
play? Yes.
12 p.m. tomorrow for the Dev Insight. But until then, enjoy the match.
I will be here tomorrow for the evening stream with you guys. We're going to be hopping on around 7 p.m. EST in order to play some Smite 2 with you guys ASAP. And then we will be on all day Friday and Saturday in order to grind out some more Smite 2 as well. And if you guys thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.